But so to get into things, one of the things the way I think that we should kind of break this meeting down is if you have direct questions about the situation with Candlegate and kind of what happened after that, I want you to be able to answer those questions, and I'll obviously respond to them. And then, maybe I can give you a couple just general ideas, but I do want to start off with if you had questions or about where you kind of how things unfolded. And then also, there are a couple things that came up since Candlegate that I also am going to ask questions about. And then, probably also, I'm an older sibling, give you some older sibling advice. Obviously, I just want to preface this by saying I'm not going to be easy on you. This is not going to be an easy conversation. I know that I'm very pleasant to talk to, but the pleasant is because I'm Southern. And I'm from Hawaii and we're very Aloha State vibes. But that doesn't mean the questions are going to be chill. We're going to be doing some thinking, some stuff that's going to require a lot of reflection. And I also want you to understand that some questions you are not going to be able to answer today.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things are going to require you to answer them within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then move forward. So I'll let you know when those questions are hey, I'm not expecting an answer right now, and no one should expect an answer right now. You have to do that kind of work. So I'll let you know when those questions kind of come up. And then the other thing is, just because obviously I'm going to be posting this for everyone else who may be watching, just because I'm doing a Zoom with somebody doesn't mean, number one, that I intend to do a Zoom with every single person who ever is ignorant in their life or doesn't know something about something. I do not plan on hosting weekly Zoom meetings with every single person. That would be
you don't want more charity cases over here.
Yeah, the Zoom is so everybody can learn.
No.
And then also, just because other people did not want to meet doesn't mean that they should have met. I'm not trying to be the nice guy or anything like that. I'm not trying to be the black friend either. So just so everybody's on the same page. This is not that kind of conversation where I'm oh my God, I'm going to be CampCallOut's new black friend. Absolutely not. If the conversation goes well and that's how it goes, then it goes that way. But you're not going to be there's never going to be a Mercedes. Well, Diane said this. There will never be one of those.
I have zero, I'm disappearing from social media after this. This is the only conversation I'll probably be having with anyone on this matter. So if anyone has questions about this, they will refer to this video. And I say that because the way you reached out to me, I had someone in a previous org that I was with, and I won't name drop them because I still respect them. I think they're a great content creator. I know they're probably mad at me, but I do respect them as a person. I did offer them a phone call or maybe a podcast interview. That might be the only other person because I have previous history with them. They're part of your guys', can you say your guys' community, the black community?
Yeah.
What's the proper?
I don't know. I would say our community, our black content creator community. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I respect that creator, and this is the way you approach me. They tried to approach me, and they approached me very kindly, and we had a good dialogue where I was hey, I respect you so much. I want you to know that I respect you. When she originally came to me about Candlegate, it was the previous post before the one that really hit hard.
Yeah.
She messaged me and I messaged her back, and she said she respected me. She was coming at me with kindness in this, and that transpired well. But then I decided to post that post that I did around 9 p.m. at night, and I said, hey, I'm stepping away from this organization. And then it went south, and they went on a blocking spree, which is totally respectable. If you want to distance yourself, that's completely cool. Just know that I respect everyone. I respect everyone involved in this. And I think what you chose to do, a conversation afterwards, that's where the learning can really start happening. And for other people too.
Yeah. And I will say that I do know who that creator is. So in the video, I will just put up their thing because I did talk with them for a second. So you are right. They're not happy. But that's between y'all. That's none of my
they're
business.
admirable.
That's
They're an
between them.
admirable.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's get down to Candlegate. So, obviously, there were a lot of things. A lot of things happened. I will not fault you for not knowing that this person was an RSO. Nobody knew except for me because I look up. I immediately was like, this person's being terrible. Oh, they run a business. I could easily find their information because I do insurance, commercial liability insurance. So that was part of our job, is to find businesses and find out who owns them, what's going on with them. So just so anybody, if you ever open a business, we know your business. So that was kind of, I don't fault you for not knowing that. Nobody knew that. Nobody could know that because a lot of people don't have access to that information. But after that, with the so during that conversation, before anybody knew about the RSO stuff, you made posts where you said, I forgot what it was, but you were like, they hand poured the candles, they and then the other post about, I'll use my following of 1.5 million people to elevate your business, or something to that effect, promote your business. Can you talk about kind of like where were we at with that?
My thought process?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, sorry. My thought process on that was when I have been trying for the past 6 weeks or so I came over here, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, Mercedes is a leftist, or they think I'm a leftist. I think, I don't even know. Maybe we'll talk about that, in the future, of the groups on the left and their existence and their differences. But I saw someone coming from the MAG community. There's no infighting. They just unless someone is saying something against the president or a really, really higher up over there, they don't infight. They all fall in line like dominoes over everything. There's no differences in the ideologies over there. That's something that I've always been used to. When I came over here, I keep seeing that the left will infight and they'll tear each other down. And I'll see okay, so in my mind, I'm looking at that business and I'm like, okay, it's a business run by a man who happens to be gay. And I'm like, okay, this is someone who's on the left, if you will. Mind you, everything I'm saying right now is the information I'm working off before finding out the RSO stuff. Everything that I involved myself within on the support for him happened the day. 9 p.m. was the timestamp on my last post of that day. This information I woke up to. The RSO information I woke up to the next day. So just
I posted at 3 a.m. our time. So yeah, nobody knew about it until the next day.
Holy shit, thank you.
Yeah, that was, I saw somebody's comment. Yeah, I saw somebody's comment and I was like, okay, somebody else knows about it. So the reason, just so everybody knows, the reason I didn't post it was because I am Black and I didn't want to get in trouble for posting it. And I do not have the type of money to answer to a cease and desist. So I was like, I can't post this unless somebody else also knows this and they can verify it for me. What I didn't have was the Instagram post to definitively tie these two people, to tie the businesses together and to verify this face is this person. I just had a hunch that there's almost a 99.9% certainty that only one Devin Tyler Stevens, spelled with a V, lives in Adrian, Michigan. So I was like, I am so sure, but on that 0.1% that there are two Devin Tyler Stevens, or it's a Devin Taylor Stevens that runs this business. I do not want to be wrong. But somebody else found out. They said, hey, I saw the Instagram post, and I was like, boom, you saw Instagram post? I'm going to post what I found. So yeah, it happened at 3 a.m. So there was no way anybody who said anything on day one could have known about it until day 2, unless they were also up at 3 a.m., which I think I'm the only night owl on Threads who posts stuff. My sleep schedule is off. I literally am up at night and then sleep during the day. So
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I want to let you know that was my thought process on that was, okay, so a minority made a candle, and then I also know, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my mind, just telling you my thought processes and the things I said in my head to justify why I thought this was just unnecessary, like infighting on the left. Obviously, we're working past that thought process because that wasn't the correct one. But in my mind, it was, okay, so infighting happening on the left over a candle. Cory Booker is worth, like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, $15 million or something. They get paid a great salary being on the Senate, or this is my mindset. And I'm like, okay, he's representing the people. If this person makes this candle and sells it, why are we in my head originally, I thought, why are we fighting over a candle? And that's why I posted that. Then I stepped away from my phone. I didn't even really I posted a couple things, maybe a TikTok video or two that I cross-posted the threads, but I didn't really look at the comment sections on that threads at all because I just don't read comment sections up until this point. Then I get back online on threads later on that night and I see a post of his pops up that said people were calling him the F slur or a bunch of slurs, a bunch of names. And I was like, and then he said his business is like getting absolutely like dogged on, that people should take down his business. And I saw that and I was like, oh no, his business is getting ranked on. And in my mindset at this point, I'm thinking this is just leftist infighting that shouldn't be happening. I'm like, yo, we got Donald Trump. We got crazy stuff going on. A candle. That is what I automatically revert, or that's what my thought process went to. So I go down his page and I see multiple posts after I find that popped up at that night. I'm going down and it says he was complaining about being called this, and the other. And then he said somewhere down the line that he is upset his business hand poured candles in his kitchen. And I saw that and I was like, okay, so he hand pours these candles. That's what I just assumed because that's what he said. But now someone else has said, no, he used to hand pour his candles and he transitioned into
drop shipping.
Drop shipping candles. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. But so then I was like, I made a post and I said, hey, your business is getting dragged. I feel bad for you, dude. So I'll help you promote your business. So because I thought the infighting on the left over the candle was unnecessary. That was my original thought process on that.
Okay. Now, that seemingly tracks. Okay, you're getting one side of the story. Somebody's literally blocked every single person. My question to you would be, why didn't you look more into it? So one person tells you something, and this is also something that happens on the conservative side of things, is which I think is why people were like, ex-conservative, this tracks. When you have one person telling you something, why was your first inclination to be like, they're 100% right?
Because what I saw was someone who has a business that I thought that in my head was getting unnecessarily dogged on. So I thought the dragging of the business was unnecessary. Because to me, I guess you could argue that maybe I still have this mindset, and that's what we're working on is, in my head, I see those. I'm looking forward and I see a disaster happening in front of us at the White House. I see a disaster happening, like laws just being completely written off. A thought process that carries over from the right that we don't see and that also depends on who you talk to on right, but we don't see the micro, we only see the macro. So if we're told where we see this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, anything that we perceive that isn't worth arguing over or is not putting attention to 100% on the fight ahead of us, we just dismiss. And like I did that over here, and I tried to encourage people to do that, is to drop infighting and say, hey, we're getting upset at each other and taking each other's voices out over something that's like definitely not immigrant father who was here legally is now in a El Salvadorian prison, and a judge as of today has ordered that we will not be bringing him back. And like that, I see that, and everything else below that, or these micro things that are happening on in the communities that are everything's so nuanced and extensive. There's so much going on in the political space. I don't even see any of that. All I see is that's my mindset behind it. Or
Okay. And I do understand that mindset. So I guess the lesson here for you would be, and this, you're not the only person with this mindset, the amount, and I will say that this is more of a white socialized mindset, that it's not left or right. I hear people on the left, like leftists, there's actually somebody who is doing this right now, will often overlook a lot of issues, just being like, we don't need to be fighting, people are doing this. However, the problem that ends up happening, and this is something that I've said on my TikTok all the time, is that we will say, not we, people will say, well, we need to stop worrying about X. We need to focus on Y. And then I'm like, okay, then focus on Y, do something. Like I'm not seeing progress with X or Y. So why are you telling me that I can't worry about X, which is like typically racism? The left and liberal side will be like, we need to move past racism. We need to focus on classism. We need to focus on the working class. We need to focus on immigration. And there's this idea that we can only focus on one issue at a time. Whereas, and there in intersectionality, there's this thing, it's called the axes of oppression. So the concept of the axes of oppression is that every single person is at an axis of different identities. So for me, I'm Black. I'm also working class. I'm also non-binary trans, but also a Black woman, also queer in general. I also live in Texas. So these are like so many different facets of your identity move you along the axes of oppression in different ways. So it's not that there's a hierarchy, but there are times where like somebody is technically more oppressed than somebody else because they have a lot of identities that are oppressed. So like a white woman is a woman, but if she's straight, does not have any issues with that. If she's cisgender, does not have any issues with that. And she's also white. And also, if she has blonde hair, even better. So that's kind of like how you think of things. And so for people in my circle, we are constantly having to deal with being Black, being a woman, being working class, being queer, and then also being in this left space. And every single time we're like, okay, that was a little bit racist, everybody jumps on us. And we constantly get told we need to stop infighting. And we're like, okay, the infighting is not infighting, it's racism. And so when something like this happens and you'll see like, you have to be aware that even Cory Booker is on an axis of oppression. Yes, he is probably one of my least favorite people. I have criticized Cory Booker multiple times when he ran for president. I said, "Oh my God, what is he doing?" He like spontaneously combusted into Spanish speaking. That was insane. When they were like immigration, he just started speaking Spanish, and he also, I believe, made up a story about knowing a gangster named T-Bone. So, like, I think that Cory Booker is a very weird person. But I can also acknowledge that, hey, this was done for a reason. The reason is not meant to be an action. It is to be a symbol so that other people can do things. Like, hey, I stood here for 25 hours and 5 minutes. Now you guys also do something. So when I hear that, like, the mentality that, well, we need to worry about immigration, I'm like, great. Yes, we can worry about immigration and also racism at the same time. Also, arguably, what is happening, like what actions are people doing to stop the issues happening with immigration? Because that's the other thing that I have an issue with, is that I'll see that, okay, we need to focus on this. And I'm like, great, let's go. What are we doing? And everyone's just mad. They're like, I'm mad about it. And I'm like, okay, great. That's step one. Recognizing it's an issue, being mad about it. Step two is what? So there will be frustration on, at least I know my end, but also a lot of Black people's end, is that Black people tend to be the people who are doing the step two. when I made a post about it and I said that Al Green, Jasmine Crockett, Cory Booker, and then her name is like Middlebrook or something like that. I forgot what her name is. I was like, they're the only people in the Senate who decided to, Senate and House. Jasmine's in the House, but like they're the only people who are actively speaking out. They are sacrificing their position in some sort to be openly against something. That is not easy to do. I will say, arguably, Cory Booker's speech, what did it accomplish if we're immediately voting for, like, against Palestine? But also, we have to look at it through, like, another lens of, like, hey, what did literally any white senator do?
Nothing.
In the realm of getting shit done in the Senate, Cory Booker has arguably done more steps than other people. So still, even it's like when people say like we need to focus on classism, and I'm like, great, that's wonderful. Black people are still the most disadvantaged in every single class that they're in. If you're poor and black, because people be like, poor people, I'm like, yeah, okay, great. You can be poor and black. And when you're poor and black, there's less opportunities for you to be able to move up. Poor and black people have the most stereotypes against them to keep us poor. And also, almost every generation until 2 to 3 generations ago were poor and black because of slavery, Jim Crow, and all that kind of stuff. So for me, when you find yourself locking into the idea of like, we need to focus on this, I'm going to ask you to pause. I'm going to ask you to pause. And unless you have something that you're about to start doing tomorrow or some sort of plan where you're like, I just need to focus on making a plan to handle this, you can look into other topics. We as human beings can handle multiple topics at a time. So unless you're like, tomorrow I'm going to start planning to do X for this. Like I'm planning to do I'm doing accessibility art classes because art classes are not like very accessible oftentimes to kind of combat the situation with AI and all that kind of stuff, doing more accessible art classes. So I may need time to focus on accessibility in the art world and how can I make things more accessible for people with physical disabilities. This is also something that was brought on by the Governor Hot Wheels thing. I was like, wait, there's a lot of things that aren't accessible to people. Let me also think about accessibility for physically disabled people as opposed to just me, somebody who has cognitive and intellectual disabilities. So yes, I am thinking about that, but because the action is not starting right now, I have the bandwidth to also think about immigration. I have the bandwidth to also think about Palestine. I have the bandwidth to also think about all these other things. So when you hear yourself starting to be like, well, we need to focus on this. Do we just need to focus on this? Or can we open up and ask more questions? The reason I asked why you just listen to him is because I believe in the Black community, because we've always been on the short end of the stick. When it comes to leadership, we're always like, what's going on with this person? So if somebody also in the Black community, especially in the Black online community, we have a lot of people who, number one, pretend to be Black, and then number two, are not true allies. And they'll use the Black community to make their career and then they'll leave. And this is something that's happened, like, even when I was in Hawaii, people will go to Hawaii, make their career, and then leave, and leave us without teachers, us without supplies, like necessities. So you should be a little more, not distrusting, but a little more curious about who is talking to you. And also, why are they suddenly getting all this backlash? Is this backlash, like, suddenly happening? Did they do something? Am I misunderstanding what they did? I have no idea why this could be offensive. Why are people getting offended? What's going on? So when you find yourself like, oh, this must be correct, you need to stop and ask more questions every single time.
And that was definitely a mistake of mine because, and partially, so I do this thing where I post and I don't look. And I might look and respond to 2 or 3 comments and be like, this is wild. And then I get off and then 9 p.m. rolls around and I still haven't gone into the comment sections not too much, maybe not enough to read everyone. And I'm just, if you have a negative connotation about it, I'm like, no, this is infighting. We don't do that. Obviously, wrong mindset on this, but the problem is I wasn't spending enough time in the comments. And that's why earlier when I said until now, because yeah, you can see when you go down the rabbit hole, then you can see what everyone's saying about everything. And there's a lot of opinions there, a lot of opinions versus just like you see like 3 or 4 comments. You're like, hey, leave, and I do want to address the then leave comment really quick. And we talked about this a little last night. The then leave, that has nothing, I mean, it just has nothing to do with, I'm not thinking like through a race, like a lens. When I said that comment, it was a comment that I've used on my profile. Even back then, people who say that I was engaging in ableist behavior because of when I made a post that was in support of Jasmine Crockett with the Governor Hot Wheels thing. Some being in Texas, everyone just said that. So I was like, hey, this is crazy infighting. That's how I like process that. Why are we fighting over that? So when people would come on my post and be like, yo, she shouldn't have said that, and I'd be like, then leave. And that was when I was in support of, Jasmine Crockett. That was not based off of someone's race when I was telling them then leave. I just said, if you are wanting to fight, then leave. Yeah. And I applied that same lens to when I was telling people on this page, then leave. I'll tell you, because I know a lot of people said that I blocked hundreds of people, but I do have screenshots of the block list. It was about probably around 15, I think. And it was how do you say this? If you looked at a pie chart of the there was a lot of different people that I blocked. It's not that I was purposely blocking based off. Yeah, it's not that I was purposely blocking based off of race. I was just when I saw a comment that I was like, "Hey, you're infighting. No, let's leave this alone." Block. Not based off of race at all. And I just want to clear that up.
Yeah, and I will say that the reason that people probably called you out for it is because for some reason online, as soon as Black people, especially, I don't know, I don't see this happen with Black male creators very often, but Black female presenting creators, people just block us all the time. There's a lady, her name is like Virginia or something like that, and she posted a post and she was like, people are telling people in America to do more and they don't understand what's going on in America. We literally can't do blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's bullshit. You can do more. But she blocked me and she was like, I'm blocking all the MAGA trolls. And I'm like, how did I get blocked? Like, very clearly on my page, I'm not that. And I've had other Black female presenting creators tell me that they've also experienced the same thing, which is why we always have screenshots, because we'll say something about an issue and then boom, now the post is gone, the person's gone, and we're on the outside of the conversation and people are like, they're not talking to us anymore and they're not listening. So it is a very big problem, not even just with you, but with other left-leaning creators or people who make posts. They'll just block Black women and be like, I'm not arguing with that. And I'm like, if 92% of Black women in this election voted against Trump and 98% of Black women in the last election voted against Trump, when you see a Black female presenting icon on the comment, you probably need to stop. Like, chances are we're not trolling, we're not MAGA, there's a very small margin of people who actually voted for Trump in our community. And I don't know how we keep getting blocked, but it's something that needs to stop. And if we bring up an issue, maybe listen, because I'm going to be honest, I've seen Black women be on the right side of history almost every single time we've had a political decision. And I'm like, everybody says we need to center Black women and we need to listen to them. And then as soon as we're like, okay, yeah, so what you just did right there, absolutely not. They're like, and we're gone. I was trying to make my point and you're saying something oppositional to my point. And it's like, okay, well, that's not how that works. That's not, just because I'm opposing your opinion doesn't mean that, like, because when Virginia did it, I was like, there are so many people who have done more actions than you right now who are doing less. just because they're like, we have to go to work. And I'm like, jobs are a figment of our imagination, apparently. Jobs aren't real. Money isn't real. Nothing's real. People have had 25-year careers gone in a day because of an email from Doge. So, like, please understand, you don't I need my job. Yeah, everybody needs a job. But also, if you don't say anything about what is currently happening in this country, your job could be next.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll all be sitting on unemployment, complacent as fuck on unemployment if we all have the attitude that we can't do more. Not saying that that's you, but I'm like, that this was a valid criticism, and then boom, we're blocked because I'm a MAGA.
Yeah, they call them blue MAGAs or something.
Yeah.
And I think that is problematic in itself, but just the division, it's something that I think that's one of our biggest our monsters to tackle.
Yeah, I will say that the creator who keeps talking about Blue MAGA, I do have extreme issues with how they talk about issues, especially pertaining to race. And they have been on like a week-long just creation cycle of talking about Blue MAGA, and for some reason, everybody that they're talking to and answering questions from is Black. And that's one of the things that I would like, once you get past the segment where you're like, okay, maybe I need to ask questions. Who is actually mad at this person? And then you do look and you see, oh, these are the people that are mad. If you notice that all the people that are mad are from a certain group, you got to ask questions. Like, that's step 2 is asking why, what's happening here. Step 3 is asking why are all these people mad? So
see, and that's a unique perspective because like here, that is something that I think is well understood. For those of us who are just coming, or like for me, like I spent my whole life identifying as a conservative, but I've never voted before. The first time I've ever voted was this election. That was for Kamala Harris. Most of my life, just, it's not that I was apolitical. It's just like, I'm a conservative because I was like brought up as a conservative, but I was too busy surviving. Cause like back in my day, I struggled with, drug abuse, and there was just a time in your life where like keeping yourself off the streets, preventing homelessness, going homeless, coming back from that, like that's your mindset. You have nothing you don't care about politics, you care about eating. And then I got to a point when I was 26, it's around January of 2024, where I said, oh, I'm actually doing pretty good for myself. Like I started a furniture business, just blue collaring it up. And I said, I'm going to get into social change and try to do something good. And I said, well, you've always been a conservative, so I guess we're going to be a conservative political person. And I start my political punditry. And the story that I'm telling you right now, I don't think I've talked about it in bite pieces, but I've never talked about it extensively. And I don't mind telling you about that to give you more background, but essentially I joined a group. We all know the group. If you've followed Candlegate, you know who. I have always been transparent about that from the beginning. I called them the group whose tagline is leave the kids alone, because I did sign an NDA, and there's a reason why I don't name drop that group. Other than that, like, I joined it January, and I made some content with the group. I was a content creator for them. I would produce content, and because I had opinions about things that were formulated due to lack of information. For example, I was always under the impression that DEI actually meant that we were undercutting qualifications. You wouldn't believe my face when I found out that that's demonstrably false. And all like DEI, these people are often overqualified just to even be recommended, or like be a thought of being able to get the job in the first place by people who are inherently racist when the hiring process starts, and that they have to be qualified. And I started to debunk this when I was over there, when a lot of these conservatives, mind you, I'm getting onto the political space and starting to hear these people's opinions that I was not hearing in the wild. And they would say that blind people are flying planes because of DEI. And I said, no, that's psychotic. Like, why do you guys believe this stuff? And those are the things that started opening my eyes up about the conservative side while I was in this group. It was, I think our first confrontation was because a lot of the creators over there, they would like stitch, people that are probably, definitely underage, like 14, 15, 16-year-olds, who are autistic, maybe not, but they'd have like a furry tail or ears, right? They're just expressing themselves. It's their random TikTok account on the, 2 followers or something. And they'd scour the internet to find these people to make fun of them. And I would bring it up, and I got all the receipts on this because I would talk to them and I'd be like, hey, why are you guys stitching these children? You say you want to protect the kids. This is actually kind of crazy. This is not right. And I would be told, no, that's not what's happening. We're saving children. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't feel like this. And then furthering on, it got to the point where I got into an argument about Amani the boxer from Algeria. What had happened was I saw the headlines come out. And I said, no, this is crazy. Why are you guys saying she's trans when I've seen pictures circulating when she was a child, right? And her passport is marked F, and that's due to her birth certificate. The fact that like it's illegal to be trans in Algeria. And I would talk to them about this, and they would tell me I'm absolutely wrong, that they were running with a trans headline. And that eventually changed them to just being like completely discriminatory against anyone who might have like a sexual disorder. And I got on a public Twitter spaces and I said something along the lines of, this is in front of a bunch of people, and I said, sorry, our values don't align. You guys are morally bankrupt or something. And then I left the org. But during that time, I found out I don't belong to the right because of being in an org with people who are on the right and being in a space of people who are on the right. I built up my Instagram platform to 145,000 followers over there. And then I turned it into a Kamala Harris, it edits page, thirst trap page. That was I just did that because I was, and like, just like stuff that was debunking General Trump or right-wing rhetoric. They did mass report it and get it taken down, which was the goal in the first place. It was funny. There was a 24-hour period there where I thought about selling it because it was a huge platform. And then I stopped and I said to myself, no, that's unethical because they don't need this as a weapon. And that's when I turned it into the Kamala Harris thirst trap page. And they hated that and did mass report it. And that's a little bit of my story of transitioning from a conservative. So it was around that July, beginning of August time where I did this and I said deuces. It was so bad that I didn't even make content for Gays Against, I did not make content for that organization. Yeah, I didn't make content for them. Like I started out making 3 or 4 months of content. The rest of my time as a conservative, those last like 2 months, I just did conservative repost pages and I named the page like Conservicon. Because I couldn't even bear to post anything. I went so crazy that I started eating Canadian night crawlers. I'll send you some pictures of it. You can add it to this video for just effect if you want. But Canadian night crawlers on my porch, talking about the issues of the left and the right. It was a Walter Matterson date right stuff kind of compilation where date right stuff would be like blah, 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 right? Or something like that. And then Walter Matterson did the opposite of that for the left. And I did that in the middle. And I would give one opinion that I thought was not okay and then the other from either side. And then I'd be like, got it, and ate worms. So that was a visible mental breakdown that their ideologies were sucking me dry.
So that's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot. I guess one of the questions, well, not even a question, but it obviously you're very new to even being a liberal and also leftist ideas. And
left of center.
Yeah. And I definitely left of center is not good. just so you know. Like they're essentially like if somebody says like centrist, not good. absolutely hate centrists. They're always like, there's good and bad on both sides. And I'm like, that's demonstrably not true. There's bad. There's bad on one side. Like there's horrible on one side. And then there are problems on the other.
Horseshoe
So
theory is a myth. And I think
yeah,
they put in the horseshoe theory.
yeah. And like at some point, like I guess the horseshoe theory is like one of those things where it's like, oh, you go back and you're on the right. And it's like, actually, no. A leftist wanting gun control, like leftists agreeing that we should have the right to bear arms in the Second Amendment is not the same as a conservative wanting the right to bear arms. We're using the arm for two different purposes. One is for protection, and one seems to be a little bit more on the opposite of protection. But I genuinely think that I hear your story, and I know that a lot of people would be very weary of like how genuine and how sincere this is. I know that part of the story where I'm like, ooh, that was a little unfun. Is the part where you're like, yeah, for a few months I definitely didn't agree with them, but I kept posting. That's a little but I also will say that as someone who had to
That seems,
deconstruct a
yeah.
lot of things myself, for people who don't know, I did not grow up aware. I won't say woke because people use woke derogatorily, even though that's not what it was for. I didn't grow up aware of a lot of issues. I'm, again, from Hawaii, and in Hawaii, we have very different politics. We have a lot of issues with like colonizers versus locals. And so your friends and you are almost always on the same side of that issue. Yeah, there
Yeah.
are definitely other things because Christianity is a pervasive issue on the island that makes a lot of people hate gay people, even though culturally there's a lot of gay people, there's a lot of transness in Polynesia, and people will abandon that because they moved to the mainland and now they're Mormon, and it's like, whoa, you can't do that. But like I grew up with a very diverse group of people, but like the way that we do our diversity looks different than how people here do it. I did not grow up knowing a lot about Black issues. I knew about Black issues because both my parents are Black. Of course I did. I grew up learning Black history, but mostly from like a book or whatever books my parents provided, whatever movies we saw. I will say I'm very grounded in like Black cultural aspects, but I did not know about Black issues until I went to college. Also, until Netflix became something that you could get access to on your TV. So, like, that is definitely having access to media is a very huge thing because I did not for a while. And then all of a sudden, once I did, I was like, oh my God, I knew about the Black Panthers, but I didn't know about the Black Panthers. I didn't know who Stokely Carmichael is or Fred Hampton or all these. Angela Davis is one of my favorite people in the world. Did not really know who she was until I turned 18 and had access to Netflix. So I had to do a lot of learning and constructing for myself. I was definitely at one point one of the Black people who was like, Black people don't like me because I'm not like them. And I'm like seeing posts and knowing that I've said that, I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. I can't believe that I let other people hear me say that. However, what I would like to bring up, and this is something that you can think about and consider for yourself, is that we have to make reparations to groups that we hurt during the time that we were not aware of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Me saying those Black people over there didn't like me, I'm not from the hood, da, 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 all this kind of stuff. That is a negative thing. That was negative to other Black people. It was harmful to other Black people who do not have the benefit of sounding like me. Like, this is not actually, like, this is my business voice. This is not how I speak all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like there are people who don't have the benefit of not sounding super racialized on the phone because they just didn't grow up with that. I grew up having to have a home voice and a school voice. So this is a voice that has been curated over 20 plus years at this point. So when I say like I don't sound like that, I speak correct English. That's very much negative towards other Black people who don't have that opportunity. Other Black people don't like me. That's negative towards other Black people because we were kids when that happened. Black kids bullying me, I was just weird as fuck to them. That's just different. I sound like a white person, but I am obviously a black person. Anybody would pick on somebody who doesn't look like how they sound. When I was learning, I speak Korean, and we would do Korean English language exchanges. There's a guy who learned how to speak English from Jamaicans in Canada. He speaks English like a black person, and that is hilarious to me. But then that goes back to he does not look how he sounds. So when I'm in 6th grade, I didn't look like how I sounded at all. So no duh. Of course, 6th graders want to pick on you for any reason at all. Of course they're going to pick on me because I sound weird. But the stuff I said to other people in relation to that, harmful. There are people right now walking around like, yeah, there's this black chick that I met when I was like in 2012, and she said that she wasn't like other black people, so obviously other black people are bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I've spent a lot of time, number one, deconstructing it for myself, but also preaching about the deconstruction of that with other black people and within my own community, and also telling other people like number one, I will always pull up and be like, this is not how I talk. this is for y'all. This is a performance. And so like that's my reparations to my community, being very aware of black issues and always promoting them, getting into black culture, figuring out why didn't I want to be ghetto, what is so bad about ghetto, why is the word ghetto used negatively, why is what I do ghetto, and also why is ghetto negative. Deconstructing all these different ideas, but also not deconstructing them just for myself, but showing that deconstruction to people. Now, I think that that's what you may have tried to do with your platform.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
My hope was, how do I explain this? There are people over there who don't want to come over here because they believe that the left is too sensitive, or the left worries about micro issues, or the left this, the left that. There's people over there who they think black and white. It's like they cannot understand nuance to save their goddamn lives. And it's almost impossible to explain to them, hey, these are the nuanced reasons why you should join the left. And also, it's not just you're voting for this side and that's it. There's other things that need to be addressed. Maybe like you might say things that are problematic or have some previous thought processes that are problematic or this or that. They're never even going to do the work. They're never going to intend on doing the work. It's almost like the furthest you could push them to is understanding that, hey, Donald Trump is, causing a recession, or Donald Trump, maybe the past of Republicans and almost how the majority of our Republicans since I think it would be considered post World War II have the recessions or economic crises have been under Republican presidents, right? Like that's the stuff that they want to understand. And here I think of it this way: as I was hoping to be a person I'm like a hick. I'm just very, I think the word is palatable to those type of people. They'll listen to someone who looks like them versus someone who, in their mind, polices their language. So when I was trying to create a space in which there's no infighting, don't worry, you just come over here, fight against Donald Trump, you're good. To get more people to vote over here, because every single last one of my colleagues who was a Democrat or on the left, who moved right and became a pundit for the right, did so because they said it was too much, too sensitive. They were getting attacked for having different beliefs to a point that they felt like, no, I'm just going to go say what I want, when I want to say it, how I want to say it over there without repercussions, which is why they're over there. So I was trying to create a space or harbor a community in which it's like the transitionary period, right? So a lot of them, for example, when they're transitioning over here, they oftentimes, one of the first things I hear is, oh, I started watching Destiny videos. A lot of them will say, I started watching videos from Destiny. Everyone knows that Destiny is a problematic creator. I mean, like the harm that Destiny has caused to multitudes of communities, that's a laundry list, right? They're not saying that. They don't care about that. They listen to Destiny spit facts against the administration. That's all they pick up. They take that and they say, you know what? screw the right, I'm voting left. And then they don't, but that's at the extent, is just the Democrat. They just want to be a Democrat or a moderate or an independent that rebukes the right, but isn't getting into leftist ideologies because they themselves disagree with those ideologies. And I was hoping to be the middleman of that.
Okay. So then I have a question about your content style then.
Yes.
So I feel like if your goal is to move people from either center, apolitical, considering, questioning to more leftist ideology, it seems like your content, and also I think also just the vibe that we all got from Candlegate times is that you're confrontational, which I think, or not confrontational. There's a certain style of content creation that right wing people use, and it's usually like, "Hey, you guys, da 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 da," and it's a lot of things really really fast, that type of thing, and I don't know if
It
that
works for
style.
them.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think that style is in service of bringing people over here, because you're
So
right. Go ahead.
it helps to bring them from the MAGA opinion to the moderate opinion because they're not looking to move past being a moderate. My target audience would be the MAGA people who are starting to regret their vote. They may have gone down the "I regret my vote" Twitter forum, that has re-alived it. It's made its comeback during this election cycle, and they want a reason to rebuke Donald Trump, feel validated in that, and continue to do so without moving any further than being a moderate. And that was my target audience. And that because a lot of people would message me like, "Oh, you should see my demographics on like Instagram." Most people you'd say are getting a pretty big following, say from like disproportionately women over men. I'm pretty much split down the middle. Lots of guys follow me because they're willing to listen to my opinion, and I think it's just because they view me as someone who's like dirty as fuck, always fishing and shooting the shit, and that's what they see and they relate to that. I'll get people messaging me. I used to get people messaging me. I'm not creating content anymore. I got a bunch of people messaging me being like, "Hey, yo, you're waking me up to the fact that Donald Trump is bunk. And I also am finding more of a space here where I don't feel like that they have to move into those leftist communities because they never intend to and they don't want to. But if they don't have a space created for them, they'll just run to that community. For some reason, humans are so tribalistic that they will surround themselves with a community even if they don't always agree with that community in order to have one in the first place. And that's a lot of what we're seeing on the right is people, for example, I was over there because it's all I knew. I was scared to come to the left because I knew this would happen. I knew I would end up saying something that the left did not. They'd be like, "Hey, that was problematic." I'd react. It would blow up. It would be Candlegate. Didn't know that would be the name for it, but situation would happen. They're not coming over here because they're afraid of that happening. And that's the space I was trying to create was a safe space for them to make that transition from MAGA to moderate. I am not trained or educated. I'm definitely not educated enough. I did not go to college to be able to move them over into the leftist space because I've never claimed the leftist title. I claimed being a liberal, and I didn't know if that was accurate or not. But I don't know what's accurate. I just want people to not vote for Donald Trump. Or a lot of what woke me up too when I was over there was just looking at legislation. A lot of these people, they don't know anything about legislation. They don't know who's voting for what. So they all honestly believe, for example, that Republicans are all for your health now all of a sudden, but totally disregard Michelle Obama's attempt at doing so. They'll disregard any legislation that Democrats have put forth in order to actually take the chemicals out of your food. Interestingly enough, they complained about the red dye in the food, yet California, a state that is predominantly Democrat, was one of the only states, the first one, to implement regulation around that red food dye. What they want, they don't understand Democrats could give them, and that's what I was trying to highlight.
Okay. So I guess this highlights possibly another thing, which is like don't do that. Like, just like, there's also an idea among Democrats is like, that thing is bad, so come over here. That's like the vibes. And as somebody who is not identified, like, I'm not a partisan person. I'm definitely not a Republican or a conservative, but I'm not like affiliated to or stuck to a party. Um, Me with my things is always like, hey, look, we can't survive off of that's bad, which is what has, I feel like, lost us both elections, us being like, hey, it's badder over there, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but you haven't said what you can do, which I still voted I'm still part of the 92%, but like, I realize that if there's a gap where we're just saying, hey, that's bad over there, and we leave a gap open, then anybody can fill that gap with whatever. And what I feel like ends up happening, and this is just like a mentality thing, and I understand that people are conservative and they're like, you know what, actually, I don't like Donald Trump. Um, I just need to not be like, I need to be against Donald Trump, and that's great that we're all united in the fact that nobody likes Donald Trump. However, if you're not for the other people, then that's where we have a problem. And it seems like, of course, you said like, hey, I didn't know the information. Then my question would be like, if you didn't know the information to move people from the space to the right, which obviously you just started getting away from the
No,
right
I have
yourself.
the information. I have the information to move them from MAGA to moderate, and
Yeah.
that was my only goal. I never claimed to be a leftist or to have the ability to move these people into leftist ideologies or to speak on leftist ideologies because I know nothing about leftism.
So then the question, and
People
this
are
is,
perceiving me as a leftist, and I think that that's one of the problems here.
well, the problem actually is that here we are, we're back with the problem where we're stopping at step 1 and 2.
Mhm.
We don't like him. Great. But you said I actually don't know that much about leftist ideology. And while I'm like, Google is terrible, when I was trying to learn about leftist ideology, I did not, that was the worst thing for me to figure out. Luckily, I had some sort of political science class at some point to kind of figure out, well, actually, I don't need to read the Communist Manifesto. Sorry to all the communists, I'm not reading that. I'm black, I'm good.
Mhm.
uh, but like, there is uh, in white America, there's this idea that you don't have to go get further information. And the reason that people don't like the left is because we're pushing you to find the information. We're pushing you to realize that, hey, it's not just enough to not like Trump. You also do have to love your neighbor. If you're going to be, my thing is like, if we're going to have Christian values and we have true Christian values, you have to love your neighbor as yourself. So if your neighbor's an immigrant, guess what? You have to love them. If your neighbor is black, you gotta love them. If your neighbor's gay, trans, whatever, it's in the Bible, you gotta do that. And I will often say, hey, look, if we're gonna have Christian values, these are the values that we need to have. If you believe a man is a man and a woman is a woman, exactly. Trans men, we're always men. Trans women, we're always women. People who don't want to be in either one of those, we're always not either one of those. So there's a way to input the information if you get the information. Now, me, I look at legislation and medical studies and all that kind of stuff. So I obviously have a vaster knowledge of things than other people. But there's also the idea that, like, hey, I need to go get more information on this topic. I have no idea why there's like, I have no idea who Marx and Lenin are. I
Mhm.
didn't. So I
Me
looked it up.
neither.
There's Marxists and Leninists, there's Marx-Leninists, there's socialists, there's anarchists. I don't know who any of these people are. Let me ask one of the people who identifies with it what they do. And I feel like moderates and people in that center space tend to not want to ask themselves those questions.
I did that.
And
I'm a guilty.
yeah, and I feel like you, I guess my brain as who I am, I cannot imagine looking at somebody and hearing that another group could be like having issues and not asking myself, is that even true? Like, is that real? Do immigrants have problems? Should probably look into that. Are immigrants stealing jobs? I don't know. The only immigrants I ever see are people who clean the stores that I work at. We've been cleaning together. Those are the only people I know. And honestly, nobody else wanted to do the jobs, which is how I got the job and how they got the job. So is there a problem? I work with Juan every single day. He's not a problem. Hey, Juan, what's going on with you guys? The reason I got into immigration stuff is because I speak Korean, and all of my Korean friends would constantly have immigration problems. One of my Japanese friends, he got his visa revoked while we were in the middle of a semester. So because I saw it somewhat, or because I had questions about it, because I was confronted with something I didn't know and had never heard of, I asked a question. And when I was confronted with, hey, that might be offensive, you have to be open to the idea that you could say something that's offensive. Because the thing is, you guys don't even realize that you do it all the time. Like, you guys regularly say, like, there's stuff that is offensive to people on the right, and you guys will navigate that. However, when it comes to people that honestly I think you guys think less of, you won't ask the same questions. Like, you personally, possibly not, but for people who are right wing, they will, if somebody doesn't want to be called a certain name, they'll accommodate that. Ted Cruz's name is not Ted Cruz. He has Raphael is his first name. So
Wait, really?
Yeah, his name is not Ted Cruz. His name is Raphael. He's also not American. He was born in Canada. So, like, we have always called him Ted Cruz. Nobody has ever called him Raphael. In fact, when you go vote for him, people have to be made, like, they have to know his name will not be Ted Cruz on the ballot. They put Raphael Ted Cruz on the ballots all the time. So you got people on the right do accommodate people having different names. They just don't care because it's Ted Cruz. And you will accommodate if a right wing woman says, hey, like, Republican makeup right now is like a trend on TikTok. When Republican women are mad and they're saying, hey, you're body shaming us, hey, that's offensive, we care about that. But we don't care when a black person says, hey, don't wear box braids. Now we're mad. Now, oh, I can't deal with that. See, I offended somebody. So it's not that people don't want to offend people. They're like, I don't want to deal with an offensive. I don't want to deal with the people being mad at me. No, they just don't want to deal with people who are of lower class and marginalized identities being mad at them.
No, interesting you say that because that's a lot of my frustration with a lot of the right too is like, they do that. Like, for example, and we have multiple examples of they would accept trans women on that side as women as long as they were batting for them. But the minute that person would maybe say something they don't agree with or leave the conservative party, that happened to me, then they start calling them the T slur or a bunch of, fucking slurs. But a month ago, you were just in the comment sections being like, "Oh my God, you're such a great Republican woman." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do what you're saying. They pick and choose when they can, and that's what I do like about the left. I think you got like there's a huge integrity there of whether for example, the misgendering thing. I have never come out. People know if you've been in meetings with me in my previous organization, there's plenty of times where I've said in public in front of like 20 people, hey, yeah, like he, him pronouns are, preferred, but you can call me she, her. This is a private thing. Like, I don't talk about this too much. And I'll just be like, I don't care. Like, don't get mad if you slip up this or that, right? You asked me personally, and I told you he, him, because you wanted to have a conversation. Now, initially, I did not know that the he, him pronouns would end up out for everyone to see. But I know that was from a place of integrity. You were trying to get people to make sure that they were respecting me, even though they didn't like me in that moment. And I think that's admirable. And the thing that you guys do that, you don't care if they're your enemy, if they're saying something about that person that could be then used against the people that you happen to like, for example, making fun of you don't want to make fun of a trans woman for being trans when she's conservative. You wouldn't do that because you wouldn't want that to happen to a trans woman who might not be conservative or just any trans woman in general.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, yeah, that's a big part. Like, I will, like, once you said that that was private, I was like, oh shit, I definitely outed them. But the big
No,
thing
it's
was,
not.
like, I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, so many people, there was somebody who said he, him, and everybody just started dragging them. They were like, she, her, she, her. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like there might be some ambiguity here because they are more mask presenting. So I think I need to ask because sometimes people don't ask me and I'm like, I'm a she, they, and they'll just be like she. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's like, you don't have Coke, Pepsi is fine. Like, they
Yeah,
prefer they is the Coke, but Pepsi is fine. That's totally fine. And also, I identify as a black woman like 90% of the time, so actually I don't really care. But like for me, I was like, we're not gonna keep we're not gonna keep arguing about what pronouns we're having when there's a larger issue, and we're not going to keep just that's the infighting that we
your
should solve.
intentions were pure.
Yeah,
I know that your intentions were pure behind it. And that's why I didn't, there's no place where I'm just getting upset because I'm like, there's people who continue to use she, her, people who continue to use he, him, and I just let them go on because I don't, it's just like, your intentions are pure. The fact that
yeah.
you agreed to have a conversation with me in the first place and taken the time out of your day to do this, and like the conversation last night, these are things that you didn't have to do. I see your heart is really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do think that there needs to be more self-examination about why on your platform, and I know that you're saying, hey, I have a niche audience. I get it. I too also have a niche audience of people. I too talk to working class people on my platform. That's my main demographic of people is if we're working class, we're all working class together. People who don't have the time to read the 50,000 studies that we need to read. I talk about medical misinformation for Black and Hispanic people because we're the number one demographic that will get medical misinformation and it'll be perpetuated and then it ends up leading to medical malpractice later on. So that's my demographic is the people who don't have time to read because I read really quickly and I know what to look for. So my thing is that obviously you say you're leaving your space, but I think you should reflect on why you felt it was okay to just stop at, okay, they're just anti-Trump. Now I
Um,
understand there was like, okay, they're just anti-Trump. That was the last part. And like having that, like, it's fine. Moderate is fine. Um, Obviously you were still learning a lot of things. So like you were probably going through the learning process. And I'm not one of those people who's like, there's only left or right, because obviously there's more directions in the world. The left and right is not the only two directions. There's not just Democrat and Republican. There's so many different things that happen. But definitely reflect on hey, sometimes right wing people and sometimes conservative people are actually accommodating. And they'll accommodate people that they like. But when there's a whole group of people that they think they don't like, or there's a whole group of people who they don't think deserve their accommodation, they won't. It, like, people, again, there are construction workers who regularly work with illegal immigrants. There are people who work in factories with illegal immigrants. There are people who have cleaning crews of people who may or may not be illegal immigrants, and they'll hire them. They will seek them out because they cost less. They'll be like, oh, yep, nobody speaks English here. That's totally fine. Limpiar aquí and say stuff like that. And they're fine with them existing as long as they don't ask for too much. They regularly are seeing immigrants and they're like, that's fine. Also, go back to your country.
yeah.
So something to reflect on just for you, because for me, anybody who, again, I will give you the fact that earlier in 2024, you were completely on a different side of the political spectrum. But just things for you to take in is that nobody should be satisfied with their political stance just being anti something else. Having, like, that's like, oh, I don't like vanilla ice cream. Okay, well, what am I supposed to give you? Like, you don't like vanilla ice cream? What ice cream are you supposed to have at the ice cream party? You have told me 0 things about it except not to give you vanilla ice cream. There are 60 flavors. So
Yep.
if you're not for something, what are you there? Like, what are you fighting? You're just fighting against something else? Okay, and then what?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because I just so like personally, I don't know if I'd ever. It's I guess you could say my political stance is right now in my journey where I'm standing or like where I'm at is left of center, or that's what we don't call it left of center. It's like liberal or something.
Yeah.
Who is open to hearing the perspectives of people who are, it would it be considered going more left or is more left or on the left more or
Yeah, left, or also you could just say marginalized identities, because I think that people of marginalized identities tend to not fit on a political spectrum. Honestly, I think the political spectrum is very white coded. So I think that this is just from me to you. I think that the political stance should be equity for everybody.
mm-hmm.
That should just be the stance. We should be fighting for equity for everyone. Now, equity looks different for every group. And that's kind of what I was talking about, looping back to the reparations thing. Reparations is a topic that I think every single conservative, they hear it and they're like, goodbye. Black people are being ridiculous. F that. But reparations for every group looks different.
Mm-hmm.
Reparations for gay people was gay marriage, allowing people to actually get married. Uh, my personal reparations to the Black community was to be a very big advocate for Black culture and for people who are in more marginalized identities of being Black. So that's my reparations. When we're talking about um, moving over, what I was going to tell you earlier, I get sidetracked a lot, but ADHD brain. What I was going to tell you earlier is that I think the reason that people are mad right now, and the reason that there are people who are kind of lumping you in with that candle guy, and all this kind of stuff, the reason that there's so much backlash is because seemingly there will be no reparations for what has happened.
Yes.
And like people are saying accountability.
Sorry.
People are saying like accountability. And the reason people are looking at you and asking for essentially reparations about this is because there is proof of you being so staunchly against a group of people that honestly now you're part of that you're a part of, and we can chalk that up to confusion, but we haven't repaired the issue. We have never fixed that. Yes, you have your platform in which you're trying to get people more left of center, but that's not even a repair. That's a band-aid for the larger issue, which was being anti-Trump. So that's not even repairing anything. That's just like, okay, yeah, can you vote for this thing? Well, what do we do in between the next 4 years of the election? What are we doing for that? And because your content does not, it educates to an extent, and obviously you're like, hey, I didn't have the education myself to educate people further than what I even knew. You have to go get it. And the accountability, the reason that I also talked to people from the group reached out to me, that just the one that just shut down. They reached out to me and they talked about accountability and them feeling hurt about this platform being shut down and all the stuff that they're feeling. There has to be some sort of reparation for that. There has to be. In therapy, we talk, like, because I went to therapy camp, I went to a partial hospitalization program. So Well,
The reparations for the platform, I want to touch on that before we get off that really quick. My issues with the platform that I developed was because I do want to, when we talk about doing things actively, what am I doing because I was a conservative or this or that? And I think a lot of people don't see the things that I do offline. They only see the things that I do online, and that's because all I highlight is the things that I do online. For example, there's a trans person who I will be doing, and this is something that I've been trying to run, and I planned on running every couple of months, was brakes. It's a very dangerous thing if your brakes are starting to go out. And I told him, I said, hey, I will, because I was a mechanic most of my life, I will do brake jobs for you guys for free. I will buy the parts. I will do the job. That is a program that I've been running as well with feeding the homeless people as someone who experienced homelessness. The homeless community, they are my people. I love them. Some people are grossed out by touching homeless people. I am the one who goes up and hugs the homeless community because I love the homeless. They are my people. So I've always fed the homeless. I fed the homeless while I was conservative as well. It's something that I participated in on most Sundays. That was a replacement of church. No church, because why are we going to church and doing nothing when I could actually be out doing something? Feeding the homeless was that. Last time we were doing 100 sandwiches for 100 homeless people. That's what I love to do. It's something that I do often. I did it while I was a conservative, and part of the reason why I switched was no one knew that I was feeding the homeless until I became a conservative, and I thought, you know what, I think this would be wholesome content. If you've ever seen content of me feeding the homeless, you know that I do not film the actual, like I film the making of it, going out there, but the giving of the sandwich, I don't film that, because I do not believe in filming people without their consent. Yeah. The homeless community especially, they're at their lowest, leave them alone. But I will say, I thought, doggone, the conservatives were telling me when I would be the homeless that, oh, they're just on drugs, you know, they don't deserve that, they don't deserve the food, like just let them dwindle their populations. And those were the things, that was like one of the biggest final straws. When I was exiting my conservatism and I posted that video and they said that, I was just like, so done. But that's something that I've always done, along with the brake jobs for the trans people, or just it was for any people. This time it just happened to be for a trans person, but also along with like these organizations, like there's a couple that deal with specifically getting. It's like I think yes, I can talk about it, but I'm not going to name the org because they're based in Canada and they're getting. It's called mifepristone. It's the abortion medication. They can send it legally to people in America because they're operating out of Canada. And this is an actual like abortion pill, like up to 12 weeks. It's not just Plan B or whatever else the plans are, whatever pills there are for women. But no, that's really cool. Just cool that they do that. Those are the things that I like to get involved in and have been getting involved in. And just volunteering my time to, or my platform to. A lot of people will say, yeah, Mercedes reaches out to me and says, hey, shout me out for free. Like I'll come up to them and be like, I believe in your message, just let me spread it. Let me spread it, let me use my platform. You don't even have to pay me, just let me spread this message for you. One thing I'd like to dispel is like when people say, oh, Mercedes, you're a grifter. Well, it's not being a grifter when you wake up, realize you're not a conservative, and delete every single platform over there. There's a lot more money in remaining as a conservative LGBT person because they will tokenize you like crazy. And there was money being made when I was a conservative. And I destroyed every single account overnight because I said, this is morally bankrupt. I don't like these people. Went on and left. There's a video I made about how at one point I was funneling the money from Instagram to feeding more homeless people, and they really got mad at that. But the other part of that is now I came over here, all of my platforms, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, 4 or 5 months ago, those all started from zero. Just nothing. I built them from scratch. And I was really hoping to reach that community that we talked about earlier and bring them over. I don't know how to, that's all I know how to do is that part. So when we talk about like getting the further education on that matter, and dealing with reparations, that's what I was hoping my reparations was for being in over here. Oh shit. For
It's okay,
being
I'll
in
leave it.
Okay, for being in that community, uh, coming over here and fighting against them and getting people to actually vote in a way that would make valid change. And that's what with my reparations, what I plan them to be, along with just, I mean, I'll feed the homeless till I die, but just doing that in the break jobs. But
Yeah.
this specific situation with the left wing project, also what my reparations was originally what I tried to do is I tried to gather a bunch of content creators that I saw have accounts that were lower, and I wanted to uplift their voices and use my platform to do so and grow their voices. So we would get on a call, um, oftentimes, well, every Saturday, but I then turned it up to like 3 times a week. It would be the Saturday and 2 days throughout the week, where I would sit there with for hours teaching these people how to create their content, make their content more viral, to get their message to spread out there more. Part of the reason why I deleted the organization was because I originally created the organization to stop leftist infighting. That was I have multitudes of meeting notes and proof that that's what that org was supposed to be. Wasn't even a formulated org. It was just a Discord chat with a bunch of people in it. And we were creating departments, but there was no official paperwork to this in the first place, except our HR person who took our meeting notes. Now, I spent hours and hours and hours and hours teaching these people how to make this content. We've spent hours and hours on calls together, done this for the past couple months. The reason why I disbanded the org, and I messaged that person that we talked about earlier, who messaged you, was because I said I'm done with infighting. The Candlegate, before it blew up the next day, that was my like, I'm done with infighting. I know people in this organization are probably going to participate in infighting down the road, or they won't like something I posted, which is exactly what ended up happening. And it will create a big mess and chaos, like exactly what happened. And I knew that would happen. I did not. I didn't expect the candle situation to be that moment, but I knew that moment was coming. And sure enough, like clockwork, within 24 hours, that moment came and I shut down the org. I literally just messaged, well, I just said we're shutting it down because the mental health from spending hours and hours and hours and hours trying to teach people, and they know me and they know my heart, and to try to teach them content and them to, it's like you destroy something so beautiful that could have been powerful over an infighting situation, in this case, the candle situation, right? And to me, I just couldn't grasp that people destroy things that could be potentially powerful and huge in making change in movements over things that, like I talked about earlier, are in our opinion on a lower plane of importance, if you will, but not off the basis of race, off the basis of, oh, it's a candle is the mindset of it's just a candle, move on, fight people being abducted and taken to El Salvadorian prisons. That's the mindset that I had on that. So the shutting down of the org, yeah, and then there was previous people in there that was a mess, and
Yeah. So from that, I have some concerns. Now, the community services that you did, great job. They are only in service of identities that are related to you. Feeding the homeless, you've experienced homelessness. Helping people get abortion pills, you are AFAB.
well,
And then,
the abortion pills. I mean, I
yeah,
would like to. I don't claim any. I don't know anything about that stuff.
yeah,
I just the reason
possibly,
why.
allegedly, but
Yeah,
like,
the reason why I volunteered with that was just because someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is a cause." But it was the homeless is because it's close to my heart. But
yeah,
abortion pills isn't necessarily close to my heart. I just did it because I know it's the right thing to do.
but also it does affect people in a community in which you would know them. Like it is an identity.
I don't know women.
So I think that also helping the trans person with breaks, you are also
That
you're
yes.
so we're not moving outside of our identity in things that were doing. However, things that we did were harmful to people outside of our identity. The groups that you were part of, harmful to other groups of people. And that's where it's like, okay, so we had Candlegate. Candlegate was disproportionately affected to Black women and female presenting creators. Now we're leaving. Now we're gone. There's no reparation of what happened in that situation at all. There is also there was one other thing that you said, and I was like, we have a platform in which we are just getting people to be anti-Trump. That is good for the election, but we have not done anything for the other 4 years outside of literally the date of the election that talks or confronts any of them about any of the harmful thinking that they've had about the people. Now we've talked about how they don't even know about their issues, but like there are people that the people that you talk to have harmed with how they talk, how they vote, what they do every single day. And there's no reparation for that. We're just giving them a space to exist and being like, hey, it's okay. Like, I totally understand you don't like Trump. And then that's it. That's all we're saying. And all the groups that are harmed by the fact that, number one, they probably voted Trump the first time, and the fact that they obviously, honestly, probably hate other people. That's like, there's no reparations for that. With the organization that got shut down, yes, that was helpful to creators and it probably platformed them and gave them an opportunity to make better content, but that's also kind of convenient. Like that's it's not like
I wouldn't say it was convenient because I spent sometimes 2-3 hours of my life every single week. Sometimes, and that's in one meeting. So that's like 3 hours of my life in one meeting. Oftentimes, I would be spending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9+ hours in communications with these people, answering, asking, teaching, one-on-one calls up until like 11 o'clock at night. I could have been going off and doing something that would have been of monetary value to me, and I chose not to purposely just to give that time to them. I do like, I agree with you when it comes to reparations on Candlegate 100%. But I will, what happened with the org, these,
what I'm trying to say is that teaching content creation is not a small thing, but learning more about the disparities racially, about how Black creators do not have the same opportunities as non-Black creators, and
yeah.
confronting that. Those are things where, from what I've heard from people, we didn't delve into that. So it is a convenient train of thought to be able to help people from marginalized identities to make their content better. That does not, again, confront a lot of the underlying issues for why their content does not do as well as somebody else who is like, I've literally seen my exact words come out of a white woman's mouth and 1.8 million likes. My content, because I'm very Black presenting, 2,000 likes. Why? If we could have the same time length and all that kind of stuff, why? Because people don't want to listen to me. They would rather listen to a blonde white woman say the same thing. And so we're not confronting or challenging the other parts of why people have issues with content creation. That's where I'm saying it's convenient. I'm not saying the time is convenient. Time is money. That is a fact. Like, taking time out of your day to do something, that's like when you go to church and they're asking you to tithe, and like, you can give money or you can give time, and you're like, oh, okay. But then when the church says like, hey, we need to help our neighbors, you're like, well, I gave money and I also volunteer at the church. And it's like, oh, actually, we got to actually challenge some things and actually put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, and go out and help our neighbor and stuff like that. So yeah, you've done some things, but that does not in reparations make. And
Yeah, and I will, whatever you like. And this is something that I think that we can have further conversations about too. That I believe, like, reparations to the Black community, that is, I stand 10 toes down on. Hell yes, totally down for that. But I will say, I don't believe I owe reparations to, like, The general thing that happened with the org, there was so many people at fault, and there are so many receipts of so many people saying things that were just like generally inappropriate. I mean, there were people who were sexually harassing me in that organization. It's so much deeper than Candlegate disbanded an org. The org has been put under test of different personalities and inappropriate behaviors from people within that org as to why they were let go in the first place. Again, now the creator that you spoke to, the one that you could initially say spoke to me first about this educationally,
Yeah.
not her. She is not lumped into that group. She is cool. Amazing. That is a woman of God. If I've ever seen one, she's an amazing person. I don't have a problem with her. She never participated in inappropriate behaviors. She is awesome. It's just other people in that org. And, there's a couple other creators who I won't mention here that are also awesome that might have already blocked me, or they don't want to talk because they're scared of association because of this Candlegate situation, and they're standing in solidarity with the Black community. Respect and understand that. Just there are people who might have messaged you and have stated, hey, this and this Mercedes did this, and I will tell you that's addressing the thing where I made a lawsuit photo, nothing to do with Candlegate. And make sure to tell this, I hope people hear this, that has nothing to do with Candlegate. That has to do with actual defamatory statements that have been made by me or made against me by people previously in the org, who continue to make these posts over and over and over again. And they'll just go on these rampages where they just start posting about me. I never make posts about them. Some of the statements that they're saying are just like wrong.
Okay. So I'm going to cut this part out so that way, like, if these people don't want their name in the video, we don't have to do it, but I want to confirm. Is Siobhan one of the people who you're like, I respect her?
Yes, I respect
okay.
Siobhan.
Okay. There's another creator named Alyssa.
I respect Alyssa.
Okay. So clicking back over. So the two people I just named, they're the two people who are being vocal about how they were hurt by what happened.
By Candlegate.
So, yeah, by the disbanding of the group, by
Candlegate. But I just want to know that I want them to know that the disbanding of the group was because of I don't want to deal with infighting. I understand that Alyssa was hurt, and the reason why I understand why some of the people in there were hurt, and it's because we disbanded it. The emotions that were running really high the day that I found out that the guy was an SO. Because of that, that's why I disbanded the org, because people within that org started saying Mercedes was purposely working with an SO, and that was a lie that a lot of them just started spreading instantly. And I said, no, I had no idea. I could never explain to them that I had no idea that he was an RSO because they already blocked me and they didn't want to hear it. So like in this video where you know that the timestamp on my post was 9 p.m. at night, you come with this information at 3 a.m. in the morning. The facts state, and even Leopards Ate Their Face, Chelsea, that's the name? Even they had a comment saying, yes, you're right, nobody knew. Nobody knew, yet they started spreading a lie in like a Discord channel of mine saying that Mercedes is knowingly working with a registered SO. That's what the lie that they started to spread. Not necessarily Siobhan, and I can't even see anything from Alyssa, so I don't know. And you can show this to them, full permission. Yeah. I don't know, you know what I mean, what they're spreading. I don't think it's harmful. It's just other people within that org that went down Mercedes is working with a registered RSO, and I'm over here like, this is actually damning. This is something that could get the cops called to my door. This is something that is totally inappropriate and demonstrably false. And that's why I disbanded instantly, because I said, no, not dealing with this, not talking to anyone about this. I'm going to have to do something because Candlegate is bad, but when people try painting you as that, you want to jump off of a building. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I hear you. I understand. I would say that I would push you to do some sort of action in reparation to at least those two creators who
Yes.
have reached out about like actually genuinely being hurt by the disbanding of the group, especially not the Black woman, but the other person that we talked about. They made a video and they very much were hurt because they're like, I did so much work for this and now it's gone.
Yeah,
And
they're cool. They're cool.
so definitely consider that.
Can you
Also,
tell them that I want to talk to them? I have no ability to contact them.
okay, I can definitely do that.
Perfect.
Going back to the having people call you that, you know, that type of thing that makes you feel obviously very terrible. I will say that I believe you can see how black women and female presenting creators were so genuinely hurt by the accusations that made by that candle guy because he was calling us so many different things and saying so much different stuff. And then you did not look past what he said, but
And
other
I never
people,
saw what he said.
other people definitely saw that he said that the people who were criticizing him were homophobic and all this type of stuff. So then they would find our posts about it, and then they would come and say that they were just coming and saying just like rude, terrible things to us,
So
calling
was
us
he in the
homophobic.
comment sections of these?
No, he blocked. So what happened is to explain it fully, um, everyone who commented on the candle post, shared the candle post, liked a post that was shared from the candle post. I didn't even make a post with the actual, like, I didn't share his post. So he had to come find my post in which I had taken a screenshot. Anybody who did it, majority Black women and female presenting creators, got blocked immediately. So then there's just an echo chamber, and also he hid everybody's comments. So if you made a dissenting comment on the actual candle, it was hid from everybody.
Support. It was people supporting him.
Yeah.
Because he was okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because
then
I checked that. So I looked at a couple of his comments too, and it was, oh, I'm buying some candles right now, or
yeah,
like I see that I can't believe people are coming after you, and that
yeah,
also helped influence my decision. I did not see really your guys' comments. In the only time I actually got a thorough understanding of the comment section of how everyone felt, besides just that one creator tried to educate me on how I thought only they would feel, not everyone, was the comment sections the next day of. That's when I started reading the actual comments in depth and was like, oh, this is a large portion of people are hurt by this.
So then we have all this crowd of people coming from his post, looking up that candle guy and seeing everybody who's doing it. They're coming on our post saying that we're homophobic, we're using slurs. And to which I'm like, bro, show the slurs. Like, we don't have, like, show the proof, because nobody did it. Zero people did. I've seen all the comments, I've seen all the posts. Nobody did it because a lot of us are also queer. Why? Even if we did, because we're also queer, like, arguably some people do believe that they can say it. So, like, not my business, not my stance, but hey, other people. So we're getting hate comments. We're getting people who come over to our platforms who hate us. So then by the time you make a post and you're like, I'm gonna use my following to elevate your stuff, we're like, you're gonna, like, at the very least, he's racist. And so I guess I would challenge you and also other creators who are using threads as more of like a repost for whatever I post on TikTok and Instagram, because there's a few creators where I'm like, you need to interact with your comments. Because there's one creator, and I don't even think they know, but their comment section is getting more progressively racist as they're posting more and more content. And I'm like, there are people saying terrible things about Black people in your comments because of the stuff that you're doing. And with that candle guy, there were people saying that we're angry, we're this. They're promoting a whole lot of false stereotypes. He is promoting it. He's saying there's a whole bunch of angry trolls out here who have nothing better to do than to attack me, and angry and attack are key phrases that are used against Black women all the time whenever we're in literally any predominantly non-Black space. We're called angry, and everything we do is an attack. So when you come and you make your post, we're like, obviously everyone can see this racism. Like, if you search that candle guy, you would see his post, his page, and then everybody else's. So if you ever came back to social media, you would, and also again to other content creators who are not Black, if you are posting to Threads, you need to look at your comment section because the comments were getting out of hand. One thing I have a burning question about is hashtag that Black friend,
Wait,
who
what?
was the person who was doing all the comments.
Oh, I thought you were saying that I put hashtag that
No,
Black
no,
friend.
no. Like that's what they're referred to. Maybe just amongst me and my friends, but in the video, like you say, hey, look, I didn't know about this. Also, hey, I'm not the one making comments. Boom, now we have our Black friends who I don't know if you're friends, but like I'm just calling them friends because I have no idea what their name is. Um, but they pop up and number one, I was unclear about like how do you guys know each other? Are you guys like friends IRL and you guys live in the same town, or like I have no idea who that person is. So yeah, I will 100% cut that out. That obviously there's more things to like cut out in different parts, but I'm very aware. Like I'm not just gonna like hit post on this recording. I will definitely cut that out. Because I've definitely also been in a similar situation with having people being like, "Oh my god, I absolutely hate you," and I'm like, "Ugh." So that's one of the reasons why I don't go to Austin, just in general. It's like, ooh, lots of things up there. Um, but back to the topic. Uh, I don't know if you know how possibly um, the person who was in the comments may have almost made it worse. Obviously, people assume that that was just you on a sock account, and that's obviously not. But I will say that, like, that obviously they have their own opinion about things. That's totally fine. Um, but I would also say, hey, both of y'all, obviously, like, there was a lot of stuff happening. People were definitely coming, really coming in hard and coming in fast with a lot of things. My my big thing is when you've done something wrong, you got to accept the L, how that L comes. I made a post about it, but I'm like, yes, if you stole somebody's wallet, somebody's food, a pencil from somebody, it would be nice if that person asked for it back. It would be like ideal if they were like, "Hey, can you give me back my pencil?" But if they punch the shit out of you, that's also valid. because you took something of theirs. You did something wrong. So in this situation, obviously, the comments, that was a sucker punch. And yes, of course, I was like, hey, I'll have a conversation with you because there's a disconnect here. But that's me asking for my pencil back. That's me asking for the pencil back and then being like, also, you took some other people's pencil, and I want to let you know they're really mad about that. You got to handle that. That's between you and the other people and the stuff that you took from them. But when we're allied to a community that we're not part of, obviously, the second half of the video is part of the community. But even for me, when I'm part of a community, when I'm an ally, if there's a huge amount of outrage about something, I am quick to listen, slow to react. I got to read the comments. I got to look into things. I got to see what's happening, what's going on. Why is everybody suddenly jumping on my friend about something? The thing is like, the standard I'm holding you to is the standard I hold to my friends as well. I had a friend who said something like, Kendrick's performance didn't even mean anything. He didn't even do anything. And I was like, oop, okay, let me just call you in real fast. You need to take this video down. We can have a conversation about this, but this is wrong. Like, number one, you're getting ate up in the comments already. I'm reading the comments, and it tracks why everybody's pissed off at you. Also, I don't agree with this because I've read the comments, and a lot of education has been had, and you're not a part of the community. You should probably also listen to your comments. That's what I do with friends that I have that also do content creation when they get ate the fuck up, because I've also been in content creation and got ate the fuck up too, and I had to correct myself. And
it's a universal experience.
Yeah, and it's inevitable that at some point we are not all experts on everything. Although I'm an Aquarius, so I am always right. But we're not all educated and well versed on every single thing. I am non-binary, I'm a she/they. And so I am part of the trans experience. However, I'm not somebody who needs to physically transition. That is an experience that I do not have. That is an experience I do not have and will not have. So when people who are physically transitioning say that there's an issue, I need to listen. There's a movie that just came out and won a whole bunch of Oscars for some reason. Emilia Perez. Trans people who have physically transitioned hated that movie. I was like, I don't have an opinion about that movie until I hear what everybody has to say. Until I hear how this shakes out, I cannot form an opinion. Also, the Mexican community, very mad about the Emilia Perez movie. Okay, let me hear what's going on before I say, well, it's a movie. Da, 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 da. Why are we mad about a movie? I need to hear why. Okay, so they are incorrectly portraying the act of transitioning. Transitioning does not just happen like that. Okay, that is definitely something that I can also understand and be sympathetic to, even if I can't be empathetic to. Okay, Mexican people are mad because it's incorrectly portraying how Mexican politics works. It's promoting a whole bunch of stereotypes. Also, the Spanish is apparently not good. I thought I just couldn't understand Spanish that good anymore. Apparently, it's actually just bad Spanish. So, Zoe Saldana is suddenly deciding to be Hispanic, and she's definitely grifting. She's always been Black and Hispanic, but she wasn't promoting that. Now suddenly she's Zoe Saldana. So, okay, I hear you. These are issues that I didn't know. These are issues I didn't have any experience about. I have a friend that I met while I was in treatment. She's from Sudan. She is also Muslim. She lived in Saudi Arabia. There were a lot of things about her experience that I kind of knew, did not have a full grasp on. I did not know the depth of the destruction in Sudan when I met her. I knew that it was happening, and I was definitely like, free Palestine, Congo, Sudan, and Hawaii. And we had a conversation. We actually had a fight because she said something. I said, "Oh, that's similar to what's happening with Hawaii." She said, my home where I was born at is gone. And I said, you know what? I understand that. My home where I'm from, so much of it's gone too. For different reasons, obviously. Gentrification, colonization of Hawaii, they just took places out. They made people leave and took places out. Totally different than a genocide. And we came together because she was like, you know what? I didn't know what was going on in Hawaii. I realized what you were trying to say. And I was like, you know what? Also, I didn't realize how bad what was happening in Sudan was. That's my bad. I should not have compared the fact like a genocide to what is almost, well, it's a genocide in Hawaii, but I'm not Hawaiian. I'm local, so my perspective of it is not something that I should be comparing to what's happening in Sudan, Congo, Palestine, and stuff like that. Similar metaphorically, not the same intrinsically. So I have definitely had to sit there and be like, you know what? This person is so mad at me. Why? It's the same thing that you would do if you were having an argument with somebody you care about. These communities are people. So when a community is mad, you have to be like, okay, why are they mad at me? What did I
Yeah.
do wrong? And
Yeah,
then
that's right.
there is a concept in therapy that we call there's two concepts. It's called Dear Man and Give Fast. And Give Fast, I'm gonna send you like the actual acronym and what it means. But Give Fast is all about how you handle interpersonal relationships. And it's about how you want to come across and be perceived and received by others. That is the whole point of it. So when there is a conflict, how do you want this conflict to go? Well, I want people to know that I am a welcoming space. I'm very compassionate, and I value creativity and education. That's what I want people to know about me. Those are like four of my like five values. That every time somebody leaves an interaction with me, that's what I want them to see. Well, would lashing out at people on the internet serve that image that I want people to see or not? And the answer is no, it doesn't. Unless you're being mean to me, I have no reason to be mean to you back. That's why I wouldn't just look up if this guy was a sex offender or not randomly. I don't do that with every single person I have a disagreement with.
Yeah, I've
Can I?
never
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah. Can I do it? 100%. However, in that situation, I was like, this person is being actually harmful. I need to figure out who this person is. And I didn't even set out to figure out like all that information. I just set out to figure out who the F is behind this business because they are being terrible and their face is nowhere and that's suspicious. So like in that situation, we're somebody's causing harm. I'm not setting out to cause harm. I'm setting out to put a face to a name. So we know who the harmful person is. So we can actually hold that harmful person accountable. Apparently a judge has already held him accountable to a lot of things. So, you know, that's that on that. But in that situation, I still left that interpersonal interaction with people knowing that I'm compassionate, I'm welcoming, I'm understanding, and that I value education because that's all that was. In this
And you're doing it
situation,
now. Like
yeah,
that is those pillars that you set out to be. You are thriving, and like you said earlier, maybe you're on your last life because you are a
yeah.
pillar of those.
And I will say that's a lot of therapy that I've had to go through. I was in therapy camp for like 9 months. So I
Mhm.
heard Dear Man Give Fast over and over and over again. But that's something that I would like for you to take with you, that no matter where you function in any space, that you need to think about, okay, in this interaction, what do I want this person to leave with? Do I want them to know that I'm quick to snap back? Or is there some other tenant that I value more? Which being quick to snap back is a valuable thing to do. Being witty, very valuable. But in this interaction with somebody from an allied community, is this how I want them to feel? In this interaction with even in personal relationships, the reason I'm so good at this is because I have to do it with my parents. Uh, I could argue with my mom to death. We could go at it with each other. That could be how my life is going at that time. However, I don't want her to leave that interaction thinking that I hate her and I'm mad at her and all that kind of stuff. Me learning that has vastly helped my relationship with her because I'll be like, you know what, that was out of character for me because I know my character. And in the situation where you have a lot of creators like suddenly like turning on you in your organization and all that kind of stuff, even people that you're like, we know each other. Why would you ever say this? There, you have to think about like, I know myself, I know my character. There's obviously something that's happened that has damaged what people think about with my character. And I need to figure out what that is. Because
Mhm.
obviously there's a disconnect on both sides about who I really am. And some of it is definitely them, but is there something that I've done that led to them
Yeah.
feeling that way?
Hmm.
And in certain arguments, like every single time me and my mom have an issue, I tell her, hey, I should have yelled at you. That's not my character. I apologize for that. I know that that definitely led to us doing da 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 da. That's my bad. I'm sorry about that. And then she comes back, whether she does it immediately or not, she'll be like, you know, I need to stop yelling at you too. I need to stop saying that because you wouldn't have done this if I hadn't done that. And in that situation, also, I will say, sometimes with allies, as you saw, like the past, I've been dealing with for like 2 weeks where there's people with allies who say they're allies and then all of a sudden they're like, Black people got mad at me, I gotta go. And I'm like, okay. Um, you have to realize that allies come and go. They do. They're with you 1 second, they're gone the next. So if
That's why I never claimed. So do when you are an ally, do you claim that title or how does that work? Because like I've never came out and said I'm an ally to anyone. I never said that only because I never wanted to claim being an ally because I never wanted to put myself in a space in which I gravitated towards one group or another group. I wanted to be like an umbrella of just
the way you have to view it is that if you're not in the group, you're an ally. If you want the best for that group, but you're not in it, you're an ally. So again, I am not physically disabled. I'm an ally to physically disabled people because I want the best for them. I am not Palestinian. However, I want the best for Palestine. I want this genocide to stop. I'm an ally to Palestine. So whether you claim it or not, as long as it's a good thing you don't have it in your bio because people have been like, "What? See, there we go."
no, because I never claimed it.
Yeah, but
So I get what you're saying though.
yeah, you're de facto an ally if you support people from another group and want the best from them, and you're not in that group. So the person in the second half of the video, they're not an ally to the Black community. They are Black. But you are an ally to the Black community because you're not Black. If you wish good for Black people, boom, now you're an ally. The thing is that a lot of times when the community pushes back and says, hey, this is not okay, what you do is not okay, what we get met with is and block. So when we're dealing with people who are not from our community and we're dealing with people who we're trying to work with or are trying to work with us, there's a little bit of like a higher standard that you have to function with. And that's why whenever I work with people, I keep that give fast in mind. I don't want with the Greg Abbott thing, the Governor Hot Wheels thing, totally valid that every single person in Texas calls him that. 100%. However, if one of my friends from Maryland who is in a wheelchair is like, that's not okay, boom, now it's not okay for me to say it. That's it. I'm done. I'll never say it again. In fact, I'm not saying anything about anybody's physical attributes because I also value body images. So you know what? Calling somebody like fat, gone. I don't want people to call me fat. I'm not calling them fat. We've both dealt with we're both in the recovery community. So like when people talk about Hexeth, being an alcoholic, when people talk about RFK Jr., being a former heroin addict, although I do think that like there's a lot of things going on with him and there's a lot of things going on with Hexeth. The two things that I don't want to ever focus on is the fact that they're going through addiction, dealing with addiction, on the journey of addiction or recovery. That is not my business. That is not something that I will talk about unless it's to talk about the disparity between those two people being able to get jobs in the highest position in the country while other people who have had drug offenses on their record can't even get a job at HEB. So unless it's to talk about it in a constructive way, boom, I'm done. I don't want my friends who have dealt with addiction to ever see me say something like that. I have dealt with addiction. I don't want people to ever see me say something like that, to me. But even if I wasn't, again, physically disabled community, somebody says that they don't like it, they're in a wheelchair, boom, I'm done. That's it. Because I want them to know that this is a welcoming space. So back to kind of like the idea of like, hey, in that situation, you obviously, you said you weren't on Threads very much. As a creator who has hundreds of thousands of followers on different platforms, you have to be aware. Comment section exists. It gets ugly. There's fighting. You gotta moderate your comment section. For the person that was also commenting, obviously they're an adult, they're a grown person, that's their own thing. But you also do moderate your comment section. Hey, look, I don't know if this is going to go good for either one of us. I don't want to put you in harm's way, so you don't have to do this. Hey, you know what? I don't think this is the space that I can promote because I don't know what's going on.
The only reason why I didn't is because I didn't.
Sorry, my cat's over there.
No, you're good. The
And I guess I will go back to add this in. The reason that people gave you backlash for the black person appearing in the video is because they were like, "Oh my God, why would you put them in harm's way?" Not so much like
I didn't.
What like
There was no stopping them. They were very upset about the situation.
But unless they posted it, like that's still your platform.
Yeah, they posted it on their account. Like, not my. They posted from their account, not from any of my accounts.
No. Like unless they posted the video,
Oh.
then that's fully within your control.
Yeah. They wanted to be in that video. They were very upset because someone said to them that they were an AI black person or that they're a fake black person or that this and that, and they were like, they just came in swinging. And they're like, no, you ain't gonna take away my. And I was like, whatever you like, honey.
And I can totally understand them on their platform coming out and doing essentially the second half of the video and be like, hey, no, I'm literally a real person on their platform where they can get whatever conversation that we have over there. But them being put out on your platform where we have actually people being racist, like people coming from that candle guy situation being genuinely racist in the comments because they probably think that like there's a mix up about who is going which way, and people are being like, I see somebody black, that's a problem. And because there were even people who came from our side of the internet who weren't black, saw the situation and were like, boom, there's a black person that could or could not be real. Slur. That's not anybody from our community. But there are people who are coming just for the drama who want to, number one, promote the infighting, and your platform is significantly bigger than the person commenting. If the person had just put on their page, I'm a real person and I'm black and I exist, zero, the comments would have been just on their
I don't think they thought that it would have been seen. And they were, I just think the reason why they wanted to be in the video is because they knew that people would see it on my page, but the amount of people who got the wrong information on like me steal, because the rumor was I stole her images and made an account to pretend to be like a black person, and that made her upset. And because of so many, like hundreds of people were running with that mentality, and that's why she wanted to be on the video on my page, because for her it was like they ain't gonna see it on my page, but they will see it on yours. And I did try to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't have your face on here because of the previous thing that I told you about with the crazy right wingers, and they were like, "No, I'm going to be on here. I don't give a fuck." And then also because their face happened to be put next to mine in the original like video that someone found on her old content or whatever, she was like, "No." And there was an attempt. There was a solid attempt, but because of the nature of our relationship,
they're their own person, and they're like, no, I want to put. So I'll say that's chill. Just be aware that if you ever have a platform that large, that if there's a discussion and there's a situation happening, that adding a black person suddenly to that can open them up to a lot of things that are specifically harmful to black people. That's all I'll say on that. I do feel like in general, I've kind of gone over most of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about, which was, I'll recap it for myself so that way I can make sure. Oh, Okay, no, we already addressed that. I was gonna ask why you saw a wave of black people, of black women and female creators, saying this is bad, and kind of went on the defense. Even even in like the short amount of time. Well, actually, no, yeah, that's actually a valid question. You asked for people to educate you, and then maybe like 5 to 10 hours later, you're like, actually, no, I'm tired of this. On the first one, there were,
It's one.
yeah, on the post where you asked for education and all that
That
kind of
was that was the second.
yeah. Um, Actually, let me look because there are timestamps. Oh no, because I had to ask you again. So the first post, it was like, "Hey, can somebody educate me?" And I
Yeah,
was
the one
like,
where the apology, the
"Yeah, the
physically written out.
apology. Yeah, the apology. My bad. I need to learn more. I would like education. Send me links. Maybe someone could talk to me. That type of thing." That was there. Then I leave, I go have some lunch, go do some things, then it's gone. And then it's not even just gone. You're like, actually, no. I don't think that I forget. Let me actually look at the screenshot really fast so I'm not like misquoting it. Sorry. This is also like, just so you know, a lot of left wing black people, we tend to screenshot everything because we get blocked so much. So I'm constantly screenshotting things. Let's see. Is this the truth? Okay. Scroll. Wow, I had to take a lot of screenshots. It was a busy week.
You take your time. I'm not worried. It's good.
It's also bad because I had to take there's a break. So there's a lot of things that happened. Then I made like a 13-minute long video. And then I came back, did a whole bunch of things, and I made like another video. So then I have a whole bunch of stuff from a bunch of different videos. And I'm like, dang, why did I screenshot so much stuff?
You
Like
were
I
one of
did.
the that what you just said reminded me of like you make videos. You were I think the only creator who did not publicly try to attribute me to working to a sex offender, and I
Oh,
appreciate that. You were the
yeah.
only one out of everyone. I mean, even like people we've talked about previously throughout this video, all of them in some way, shape, form, or fashion try to tie me into the SO as working with them, and you were the only one who didn't, and I appreciate that. By the way,
Oh
just
yeah, because I knew the secret. I knew that I was the person who posted it, and I was like, there's no way they knew that. So I was like, I knew because it was 3 a.m. and literally nobody was awake when I did that. 0 people were up when I posted that. So there's no way you could have known because I'm the one who said it. Let me go back. What was it like 4 days ago? Ooh, why do I post so much on Threads? Fun fact, funny story. My mom found my threads yesterday. She was like, Diane, what is this? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's an app, Mom. Why are you downloading that app? Oh my God. And I had to like gaslight her and make her think that she didn't see what she saw. Not that I posted anything bad about her, but I was like, no.
that's me. I be posting stuff about my mom, and one day I wouldn't know contact with her. I don't talk to her, but I feel like one day she's gonna find a podcast where I'm like, yeah, mom, and you did. You beat me with a tomato vine, Mom, and then she's gonna be like, how dare you put my dirty laundry out on their Mercedes? And it's like, their
Yeah.
mothers are
Yeah. Mothers are wild.
they're
Okay.
wild.
Yeah. I literally am getting a tattoo at some point that says if it's not one thing, it's your mother. Um, because that's moms. Literally everybody in treatment has probably a problem with their mom. So so I found the post. So you made your post about not wanting to remain ignorant, and vibes. That's great. We had a conversation. We said we're gonna meet, we're gonna talk. And then was it 5 hours later? I think you took down the post and you said, to the left who hold no space for change, I do not associate with that. I welcome moderates and centrists. I welcome those who rebuke the Trump administration. And obviously the second part was about the gotcha thing with the with you being an ex-conservative, which obviously you're an ex-conservative, and your extremist thinking is showing. I am wondering how, from the first post that I like tagged you on and was like, hey, yeah, on the I don't want to remain ignorant, there was a ton of Black people on there, a ton, and like a lot of them were saying possibly not nice, not the nicest tone of things.
Yeah, that's why I deleted it.
Okay,
Because I
so
thought it was making things worse. People kept screenshot it and dragging me further because they didn't like the apology, which is like rightfully so. And then I was like, oh, if this isn't the right thing to do, then I'll just delete it. So then I deleted it. And then I was like, wait. Then I had a moment where I was like, is this crazy for no reason? Like, what the heck is going on here? No matter what, it looks like it's just exacerbating it. So then I was upset and I just put, originally what my goal was, hey, I'm here to attend to the moderates, get the people over from the MAGA community over to voting Democrat. And I tried to reinforce that there. And just thought, if people understood that I was moderate, they'd leave me alone. But that also exacerbated it.
yeah, yeah. Because I guess what we're characterizing again, it was a lot of Black people and a lot of Black female presenting creators who were in the comments of the original post being like, that's not it. And I will say the majority of people who were critiquing your apology were Black female creators and for female presenting creators. And so I'm like, okay, we all have our pictures up.
Mm-hmm.
We are all very obviously Black women or Black female presenting creators. When you took it down, and here we have like the problematic language of to the left who hold no space for change. I believe earlier we touched on some of the ideological issues with that. But do you regret saying that now?
Yeah, because also I think that a lot of the people who follow me on my platform, I think there's a disconnect in which I built a platform in which people think I'm on the left, or they think that I'm a leftist, and that they saw that and they're just like, wait, what? And then they feel bamboozled because they're like, have I been following someone who's not a leftist this whole time? And I,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are.
That is a little confusing because you're saying I am not a leftist platform, which is almost in opposition to what the creators who you were with say. They're like, this was mostly like a leftist, left-leaning group.
Well, it was called Left Wing Project, but I have like hours and hours and hours and hours worth of meeting notes where like the HR person who might have reached out to you but is in contact with the other creators there, they've also blocked me. This is meeting notes coming from them. From an honest perspective, I will 100% say that they have known this whole entire time that the mission statement at one point was literally stopping leftist infighting and converting MAGA. The organization's joke name was the MAGA conversion camp. The joke name was converting MAGA people to voting Democrat. That was very transparent from the beginning.
So it's transparent, but it's transparent in a way where like I came out to my family, but I didn't come out to my family. So your group was like the left wing something.
Yeah, but they heard this come out my mouth all the time. But no, from the public's eye, I get what you're saying.
I could also see, even from some of the creators' eye, that stopping leftist infighting and converting MAGA, that still sounds like you could be leftist. Because you didn't.
Yeah, but
That's
but
not.
they knew.
That's
But
not.
so
That's not
Casper,
like a moderate. That's not like a moderate outright ideology. Stopping
multiple
left of
people in the
infighting.
groups, multiple people in the group identify as moderate. So their identification was moderate. So like there are people who are now switched to the other side, or like they might have watched me, but they are moderate. They identify as moderate. Our HR person identified as moderate. There was a person who was in the group who isn't in the group anymore who identified as moderate. There were multiple people. We had a couple people who were ex-MAGA, just very fresh off the press, who came over, and they identified as independent. So everyone knew that it wasn't a leftist group. And I will, that's something I like, I have multitudes of proof that the fact that this was not it wasn't a leftist group. So all of like, everything to me was so blindsiding, and I didn't understand because I thought, now I can see from the public's perspective, when it's called the Left Wing Project, yeah, they're gonna think it's leftist something. My content, I've always just called out MAGA. I have never talked, I've never had these one-on-one videos. I'm like, by the way, I have more moderate beliefs, or I've never spent time critiquing the left, if you will, to put myself in a position where people would even think that I was moderate, because I know that it's hard. People don't like the moderates. They don't want to listen to people who have like these centered beliefs on trying to dissect issues on both sides. They just write them off. And I was like, well, I don't want to just be written off, but I also want to appeal to the MAGA community. How do we do that in a way that is respectful to everyone, but also doesn't get dismissed as crazy because MAGA people think that leftists are crazy? So that was the original what I was trying to accomplish with the org. But there are people in there who are leftist, or the ones who identify as moderate, but definitely or they're leftist, but they're identifying as moderate. So I don't know what's going on there, but.
So I guess I would also ask you, because you sound like the last group is a leftist who identifies as moderate. Like, what are the non-left beliefs that you have?
The non-left beliefs.
Yeah.
So like I believe in capitalism, but with like strong social safety nets. I believe in free healthcare. I believe in free college. But like I do believe in like capital. Like I don't know how to say, like obviously we're in late stage capitalism. That is, we're here, and that's when you're trying to turn in year after year higher quarters than the last in profits. We have a problem. There's no such thing as an infinite profit scale unless you're constantly forcing inflation, and that late stage capitalism, right? I don't believe in that. I'm a minimalist at heart. For example, this one bedroom hosts 4 people, because we are minimalist who we don't. I'm not a consumer. I don't believe in consumerism, but I do support people who want to pursue business through capitalism. I believe in gay marriage. I think it's just from like, I'm not a politically correct person. Like a lot of the things that I say don't come out politically correct. And that's where I have this disconnect with people on the left, is my heart or what I'm wanting. I think we're on the same path. They just don't like how I'm saying it. And that's where the conflict is created.
Yeah. So which I would say, like, something you can solve. Like, after this conversation, I hope if you get 0 things other than this, is that you have full ownership of how you come off, and if not how you come off, how you react when you come off wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 2 things that you have control over. If you were all intentions where I want to be a compassionate human being who understands other human beings, you have control over putting that energy out there. If that energy is not received by the group you're trying to be compassionate to, then you have 100% ability to go to that group and figure out how you messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that situation, the reason that like you're probably still getting criticized at this moment is because you said, hey, I'm open to learning, and then boom, you're like, absolutely not. Fuck the learning. I'm a centrist, I'm center moderate, and if you're ex-MAGA, that's who I want to talk to. It just gives like, I'd probably talk to a MAGA person before I talk to essentially all those black women over there. And it's because you almost like you reacted and did not question anything. You did not ask, why are these people mad in my comments? Everybody's just mad at me. Why are they mad? Why is everybody coming for me? You heard the most extreme view and didn't look at any of the other views. And when I get critiqued for something, I have to look at everybody's view. I have to look at every single thing. I have to be like, you know what? Is there validity here? Is what I'm saying incorrect in a way? With the Jasmine Crockett situation with Governor Hot Wheels, me and my other black creators, we did not 100% agree every single time. And that's valid. That's okay. I like what their stance, valid. They can be mad at me. There are people who are like, Diane, you shouldn't meet with Mercedes. That is a valid thing to say. I'm not going to be mad at them for them giving me a critique about something that, hey, you know what? Black women do expend a lot of labor in essentially handling racism all the time. We've been dealing with racism for like the past 2 weeks on the internet, just 2 weeks solid of dealing with this. So why are you doing more? Hey, this is the antithesis of what you're doing. Again, this goes back to the idea that when you do something wrong, you got to accept the critiques. And also, if you are allied in a community, and I like to think of my communities as my families, and I like to think of there are people who really wish the best for me. In my family, when somebody's doing something wrong, we call each other in. We're like, oh, Diane, come over here. What you just did, you were acting a damn fool. Do not do that shit again. Hey, that's what I feel like. People who are coming into the left don't ever see those call-ins as us being like, I'm just letting you know, you just said that shit. That was so incorrect. You need to get that together.
I think a lot of that comes down to the basis of what a lot of like the MAGA or the moderates offer, like their operational thinking on that is they don't believe that what is causing the conflict has any weight. So they believe that the conflict should have never existed in the first place. So in a lot of the minds of like the moderates, and I'm speaking from this position, and it's why I pursued content in the first place, is because I understand from a fundamental in like the ability of, because I understand how they're thinking of why their problem with it, or what causes the conflict, is they don't believe it has validity in the first place. So in their mind, for example, like talking about when we deconstruct the situation, we had people saying that the candle was being sold purposely in the cotton scent. They would only list the cotton scent, and they would leave out, in bad faith, the position that out of the 50 different candles on this website, every single candle was listed in 6 to 8 different scents. And each scent included, and it wasn't just called cotton, it was called clean linen and cotton. And that's a very common scent amongst like the Scentsy world, or like the wax melt world, right? And I think like that's where I try to step in and look at, okay, like, hey, we're wrong here. It's wrong to say that it's just, oh, he's purposely selling any cotton. I think that's disingenuous, because that's one flavor out of 8 different flavors, or 8 different scents, right? And that's where I think the centrist view in dissecting situations like this comes to play. That whereas like a MAGA person or people who are moderate, the thing is they would believe something like this is hogwash. In their opinion, the moderate opinion is that, oh, it's just a candle. Let's move on. Why are we arguing about a candle when we have like fascism in the White House? That's the moderate opinion. The leftist opinion is like, hey, this candle isn't just a candle. It is profiting off of labor of a black man who just stood there for 25 hours. Maybe we just shouldn't do that. That is valid to the community who is bringing that up as an issue. The problem is the other people, like MAGA or moderates, are not perceiving that at all as a problem. They don't think, They think, oh, it's just a candle. This is some random small company. And that's the mindset I had on that. It was like, oh, this is just a candle. It's some small company. why are we arguing over who can and can't sell a candle? Because like someone who's capitalistic, I believe that anyone should be able to sell whatever they want to. It's your right as an American in this society. I can just choose not to buy it. For example, God forbid Kanye put that fucking shirt up there that had the swastika.
Yeah.
I don't, you know.
Yeah.
And I vehemently, that's not okay. That's horrible. That's very horrible to do. But
Yeah.
then the moderate or the stance of the centrist is, but is it his right to do it? Essentially,
Yeah.
so here in America, it's his right to do it. I don't agree with it. I want nothing to do with that or that person, but it's his right to sell it. Now, I would never
Yeah.
defend someone selling a swastika fucking on a shirt. Hell no. In this situation, I'm viewing it as this is a gay guy who's marginalized selling a candle in a time where we're about to hit a recession, probably wants to make some more money. We're
Yeah.
all suffering at the hands of administration, and I just didn't think that, because like there was thousands of people, and that's the other thing too is, for example, merchandise surrounding the Obama campaign or Obama in general has been being sold for that whole entire time, right? Not just people who were selling campaign merch, but people who are profiting off of his run, his bid for election, who, no, they weren't donating the money to a campaign. They were just making shirts. We saw it often on TikTok when Kamala Harris came out and ran. She would speak on things. She would say these things that were profound, and then people would put it on a t-shirt with her face. They would sell it. 90% of the people selling them, they were just random people from Asia who were drop shipping. Like these were people who your IP address would have been in Asia, just capitalizing off of the American political climate and selling these t-shirts. They don't even know what's going on here. And we allowed that to happen, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the left bought those shirts, wore those shirts. So they're not seeing an issue. Kamala Harris on a shirt, it's fine. People who aren't black are selling these shirts. Continuing on, now we have a candle. When we talk about like Kobe merch, someone selling things about the death of that, we have so many people who are profiting off of this, off of a black person doing something, or of that matter, anyone doing anything, whether it be Donald Trump's, I don't want to call it an assassination attempt because I have my own opinions on that, but whatever happened there, people profiting off of that, people profiting off of, 9/11, people profiting off of every event that you could ever imagine who weren't affected by that event or what could have happened in the past with these groups of people. And so for a lot of us, it's just like, okay, so that's okay, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay, okay, but the candle's not okay, but why? Why is the rest of it okay, but the candle's not okay? And that's what a lot of people are seeing because they're not seeing the uproar about this on any other issue. All of a sudden, it's a candle.
So then you ask the question why, but then it's like your mental tone for why is not the right tone. You're like, why are you guys so mad about this? When it's like, should be, why are you guys mad about this?
No, I'm just saying, like, that's what.
Yeah.
This is just how I talk. I have
no. I'm saying, like, the tone being different is asking two separate questions.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so if you're like, why are you guys mad about this? The tone is, and the implication is that this is not something to be mad about. Whereas, why are you guys mad about this? Is like, I'm concerned that a whole group of people are mad about this one candle. And that goes back to the idea of like, you saw so many people were mad about this one candle. And then nobody from that side went, let me just go look real fast. Like, why are people mad about this? People brought up the cotton scent. And yes, a lot of people did have a misnomer where they said, this is the only scent. However, why does it even matter that it's a cotton scent? Because my stance was, I don't care if you have 28 cents on there. If you have a black person being promoted with a candle, take down the clean linen cotton scent. That is not even, if you have any kind of black person on your staff, take down the cotton scent. Oh my God, that should be the one scent that's not available. In fact, people would probably applaud you for being like, yes, every other candle that I have has this scent on there, but because I know this is probably insensitive, I should probably not offer this scent in there. If they had a watermelon scent on there, it would also be bad. I'd be like, what? Then you got cotton, you got watermelon, like what else are we doing? So the tone.
And so many people just aren't in that thought process yet.
Yeah.
So like when we talk about the moderates, that is like, if they're here in their transition on what they're learning is okay and isn't, the thing about it, whether we should be selling a candle that has fresh cotton and linen applied to all candles, that is something that's like 250 miles down the road that way in these people's mindset. Like, it's like if they're looking at 10 million problems, that is in the foreground. Like, that is it. They don't perceive it to be a problem. And I think that that's the issue, is like, if you want to be online and you want to speak for these, and I wouldn't even say that I necessarily want to speak for any community, but if you advocate in a way that people perceive you on the left, there are a lot of people on the left who have a lot of different opinions on these things. And I agree with like how your approach, when you tell me, gauge how people are feeling about these things in the comments. That way you'll know how to respond. Because if the majority of people are like, hey, what the fuck, that's our job. That's my job. I mean, to look at that and be like, why? Like you said, change the tone is so, like, why do you care? From like, well, why do you actually care?
Yeah. So, and I'm not personally, I am not talking to moderates. That's not me. I'm not talking to somebody who is politically aligned with like, hey, I'm in the center, because you've already aligned with something. I'm talking to people who are just basing their stuff on values.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I think that for me, I value working class people. I talk to working class people. I tell working class people facts in a way that working class people can understand. Because the whole idea with the way the system works is that there's so much information to digest that it is almost impossible to digest it fully by me telling you to Google it. I did a whole project where I actually studied on Facebook, there was a ton of people in the anti-vax community who said, turbo cancer exists. What? What is that? That's there. There's only cancer or not. That's it. There's no turbo cancer. You can't speed cancer. Cancer is aggressive or it's not. It exists or it doesn't. There's no what's turbo cancer. So then I have to go back and figure out where they even got this idea from. And come to find out, some random influencer made it. But because I know how the misinformation can spread, I would not send somebody to Google, and I'll present them with the facts. That's, again, my platform is like me presenting you, hey, here's the facts in a digestible way. When we're creators, we have a duty to keep track of our comments. It is like there's language I have filtered automatically on my posts so that I can approve or deny comments. There are times where I make posts and I archive it. I get 3 comments and 3 comments are like, oops, this was not the vibe I was trying to promote. Goodbye. It's archived. It's gone. I have like a list of like, I think I have like 10 different posts where I was like, you know what? That's not what I was trying to promote at all. That's my bad. Archived, gone. If I think that maybe I was justified in this and I want to post it later, I can do that. But like right now, not the time to post it at all. In this situation, there were definitely sometimes where we did not stop at go and collect $200, so to speak. We definitely hit the gas, no brakes on some thought processes. And I would caution you to reflect on why that happened. How come when you got a piece of information and it seemed like you only got one side of the story, you didn't go look to see who actually was critiquing. You just said, I assume somebody is getting attacked because of what this person said. You need to think about why that was, why there was no questions. And I would also, any moderate, MAGA, centrist, whatever, nihilist, fatalist, whatever you want to do, whenever you hear a piece of information and you take that and you run with it, why? Because I've never gotten a piece of information where I did not ask myself a question of, who is this coming from? What do they have to gain from telling me the wrong information? What do they have to gain from telling me the right information? And how does their information relate to me?
Most of us don't inherently think about that because we were like, for example, a lot of the issue that's coming from like my thought process is you believe what you're told, but you believe what you're told, you believe what you're told, that's it. You don't investigate anything. When you believe something because you've been taught that investigating is bad, doing deeper research is bad. For example, any questions that related, when I left my school, I thought the earth was 8,000 years old. And that's because any questions that contradicted that mentality was shut down. You were going to hell, and that was that. We were made to sign contracts that said we weren't going to have any kind of sex till marriage. Yeah. That is something that we just agreed with, and we put it out on pen and paper. A lot of us are coming from a position of 26 plus years of brainwashing of you don't ask questions. You see it, you formulate a base level opinion and you just go with that and you stick to your guns and that's it. Like, I felt this was bad, it's bad, it's bad. And then you don't ask me, you told me this, I trusted you, that's it. And a lot of us just run.
And I will challenge that because MAGA does give you guys a lot of facts and they tell you all that they're going to say that over there and it's not real. That's and you guys will give us facts. MAGA will give us oppositional facts. So it's not like no one is doing any research. You're just doing confirming research. So it's not that people people aren't doing they're not looking up anything.
They're not even talking confirmation biases, that they think that I used to think this. You genuinely look up something that you think is going to confirm you, and if it confirms you, it's right. And it comes from, a lot of it comes from religious belief. So like, if I believe something is wrong and I find it in the Bible and I don't apply nuance and I don't take into context the Bible verses, well, it said it, it's right. And no, that's like the problem with a lot of that we see in the Bible, that these people are listening to something I did. They listen to a baseline, that's it. They don't go through the context of the time period, who said it.
Yeah.
They don't actually analyze it. So a lot like the facts, oftentimes that you're talking about, they're just regurgitated talking points, in which any research that they have done probably wasn't even research themselves, but one of the, 15 Russian paid conservative influencers did some baseline confirmation bias and regurgitated it, and they have chosen to proliferate that throughout the MAGA spaces. So like, many of us just don't research. For example, like, I can't spell, right? Can't spell, don't research, anything that has to do with, okay, I'm going to open up a book and I'm going to dissect this, or I'm going to go down a path of research. It's not even like it's not even on our holster. We don't even think like that. And that's what started opening me up to being against that side in the first place. Was I started doing research about legislation and figuring out who voted for what. And it was that the moment that I started doing some research, it's very interesting because, my mind was changed. And I had to change a part about it because I decided to research.
Yeah. And I would definitely also put a little bit of a bug of a challenge into that. There are times where people research. There are definitely times where people have research. And there's also a lot of mistrust for authority. However, the mistrust for authority is only to people that you don't think know anything. That's it. So it's not that you guys don't have the ability to question authority. You do all the time. If there's even a Democratic senator, boom, you're questioning everything. Suddenly, everybody knows every single piece of legislation every single person has ever done in their life. They will look it up. They'll be like, I don't like Kamala.
No, that's the problem, though. That's the issue, though. They won't look up the legislation because if they did look up the legislation, they'd switch sides. That's what happened to me. Is the problem is they blindly believe everything that they're told. They don't research anything. And I do, when I say I mean this, I mean there's times where a picture of a supply closet with a cat litter container, they'd be like, okay, we're just posting that. And it'd be like, I'd say something, and I'd be like, no, we're not going to do this because there's no proof of this. You know what I mean? We don't care. We're just posting it. They don't. And for anyone with a logical brain would understand. Children have these phones. They're bringing to the classroom. If a child was taking a crap in the classroom in a litter box, we know that by now because the phones. That's base level. I mean, you don't even need a computer to do that kind of mental research. They won't even do that. I mean, they. And I was over there doing this exact same thing. The talking points is government bad, food is kill you, tax bad, take my money bad, immigrants bad. Like that's the whole mindset over there. Because there is no research. If they researched, they would. That's what happened to me. The research they're not doing because they're adverse to it. Many of these people are severely undereducated. Many of these people did not go to college. They stopped working or stopped going to school when they were 15 to pursue work to uphold the families. A lot of these people come from educational, like just sheer educational disadvantages. And that's why I have such a soft I have a soft spot in my heart for MAGA or like moderates or centrists because I understand what it means to be completely uneducated from a standpoint of like I didn't go to college. I thought the earth was 8,000 years old. I'm still learning about evolution and then that whole system or theory is what we call it or something. They think the same way. It's like I fix truck, that's it. I make money, I eat, I have wife. That's like the baseline of their life. They're not researching, and that's the problem is if we could get them to research, and that's essentially what I wanted to get them to do is start doing base level research. They don't they don't research. We're all adverse to it because of either religious purposes or not growing up with technology, or a lot of us a lot of them have been like just fed continual lies that they just believe in. Like a big thing too that keeps a lot of them over there, say specifically the men. They don't want to go on the right or they don't want to go on the left over generalizations of I think leftist men weak. I think leftist men soy beta, no testosterone. Things that are just so stupid and easily debunked with base level research that they refuse to do because they just don't operate like that.
So now that we've kind of like identified how even sometimes even through your work of trying to get research, getting people to research, have blind spots is what we call them, is blind spots. I think, and I can't speak for every Black person, so I'm just like, obviously, you can do what you want with your platform, disappear, reappear, Houdini, that's not my business. But I definitely do think that talking about your experience here with how you, even though you were in a more left-leaning space, still didn't understand where people were coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And still had those like it is a thought process to change that when you hear something you do have to ask a question. When you hear Ted Cruz is somebody that I will always use an example. Ted Cruz is not American born. His dad is from Cuba and they immigrated to Canada afterwards. His mom is like from Massachusetts, but they moved to Canada, so he's not American. He was born in Canada. And then his name is Rafael Cruz. He is never going to stop illegal immigration. He's not. He's never going to stop it. He benefits too much for it. I did the research. I looked into it. There is a gap on illegal immigration counts about what fields they work in with energy, which is oil rigs. And there's like at least 5 to 10 organizations that directly contribute to Ted Cruz's campaign that are energy groups. So why would an energy group that uses and needs illegal immigration to run, because most Americans don't want to be in an oil field. They don't want to work on an oil rig. It's very tough work. It sucks. Why why would they reveal the numbers? Number one, about that. Why would they reduce the amount of people that they could possibly use for this? And also, they can treat them any kind of way because they can't. Legal immigrants can't say anything. They have no legal recourse to sue their boss. They can't go to HR. You go to HR, give me your visa back. Oh, you don't even have a visa? I'm going to drop you off somewhere and leave you. You don't even speak English. There is a whole illegal immigration industry in Texas where the ICE facility, I believe, is in El Paso. They drop people off in El Paso and then let them walk, and then somebody will drive up and take them in a truck and take them to a job. They'll literally say, do you want a job? And then they'll drive them off somewhere else. Two people that may sound far-fetched, but I'm like, that you can go to El Paso, see it, like, go look. It's literally right there all the time.
It happens. I've been in this. I have experience with this, and with working with immigrants, especially because of the trade jobs I have. Yes, they'll pick them up from Home Depot just here in Austin, Texas. They'll pick them up from Home Depot, and they'll try not to pay them and drop them back off at a random gas station and just be like, goodbye.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, I'll give you $100, which is demonstrably low.
And then not even give it to them.
Yeah. And so why would Ted Cruz, who's been in office for years, never done anything about illegal immigration, why would he suddenly start doing it now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These are questions that anybody could ask. We all got mad when Greg Abbott didn't fix the grid. Why wouldn't he fix the grid? That's a question everybody asks. And moving past asking the question to looking it up, I'll agree sometimes access to things is not, like, again, I owe my awareness to the fact that Netflix decided to be on a TV instead of just a bunch of DVDs you had to request. If it wasn't on TV, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. I'd probably still be very ignorant. But I think that if you, in your work, could use this as an example of like, hey, I came over here because I don't like Trump. He is a terrible person. I don't like him. But then I realized I was also hurting people. And it's okay for me to admit that I hurt somebody and then try to fix it. Because I think that's also some of the issue with moving from the right to the left is that you have to take ownership for the fact that you hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. And you have to take ownership for the fact that words that you said, that you put on Facebook, led to other people thinking a certain way, which led to other people thinking a certain way, which now people hate Black people. I actually had a teacher who said that the Kendrick performance, she didn't like it. She's like, I didn't understand that Kendrick performance. She was a high school teacher, not my high school teacher. She was a high school teacher. And she got mad about it. And then all of her comment section just started snowballing and snowballing. So the point where somebody said, yeah, that jungle music, it sounded like jungle music, which is racist. That's racist because it wasn't. And because she let her comment section go, she didn't check anybody, then boom, I said, this was a racist comment section. I can't believe that you guys are saying something about my culture is jungle music, and But then she messages me and says, hey, can you take your post down and all the comments that you shared, because that hurts me. And I'm like, well, you hurt me first. What you did was hurtful. I just posted that you were hurtful, and I just called these people racist, because they are. And I'm not taking it down. Now a teacher from my high school blocked me because I told her that, hey, what you did was hurtful. And I think that people coming from the other side don't ever want to have that conversation where it's like, yeah, what you did, what you're allowing to happen, what you're continuing to do is hurtful. And with the Candlegate, letting your comment section go was hurtful. The comments that happened after that, hurtful. Yes, of course, some people from God knows where did call the account slurs. I obviously didn't see it because I wasn't on your page. I didn't even know you until I posted the post. But like there's a lack of wanting to kind of atone and make reparations for it, which again, we're going back to the reparations. Reparations for every group is going to look different. But I always say that reparations and the apology have to be just as loud as what you did. So I would say, like, there is still a lot of anti-trans stuff on the internet involving you. Hence people being like, hey,
I can't take it down. I've requested across every single thing that someone has sent in. I've already requested for it to be taken down. they don't plan on taking it down ever. And that's because these are on their accounts. Not everything from
Yeah.
me has been taken down. They refuse to take it down because they think it's the thing they have on me.
In lieu of that, you can always publicly announce, make a huge post. Hey, I do not stand by these beliefs at all. Put it in writing. Make another video that explains why CampCallOut is pro-trans or something like that. Something that's easily searchable when we look it up. Because if I look up CampCallOut, or if I look up your name, first and last name, first thing I see are anti-trans stuff. First thing. And that's very loud. If the first two videos I see are two anti-trans thing, even if your pronouns change, it's like, okay, what's going on with this? There was somebody who was very transphobic and being very racist in my comments. And I made a comment that I said, a woman is a woman and a man is a man. Heaven forbid he takes that out of context. He did. He reposted it on his page. So I went on my page and said, hey, if you see this floating around, understand this is what I mean by this. And I'm using his rhetoric against him. I don't want that taken out of context. So it is my job as somebody who made that content to make sure it's contextualized, number one, but also when I made posts that were, at first, I didn't understand, like what the West considers being trans. I did not understand that at all. So I had a number of posts that from when I was like in high school graduation era. Not good, not good. It's not just enough for me to take down the post because the post has been there for 10 years. 10 years of people at some point saw that post. It's more important for me to not just have a negative space, but to fill it with positive. Taking something away does not fix the issue. It's like you took the Band-Aid off, but then you didn't clean the wound. So in that way, with the content that's currently out, there just needs to be Mercedes, like, I want you all to know I don't agree with that. It being wrapped up in other videos in which you are doing other political things is not something that I can search and boom, it's right there. Because I looked. That's what I was looking at. I was like, let me look into seeing what's going on with this person. And not only did all of the comments, did people show me that, immediately as soon as I looked it up, it also confirmed the same thing that, oh, well, this is what happens when you look them up.
Mm-hmm.
On your page, the apology, great. I was like, this is good. We're cooking. We got an apology. Then it's gone. And then
because I didn't know if I was wrong or right with that apology.
But now there is the gap in which you took away a negative. You took down all your posts about that candle guy. Took them all down. We had an apology, it's gone. There's still a gap. In fact, the gap is kind of filled with the I'm done with leftists. And that's hurtful to a lot of people, considering, again, most of the people who were mad at that candle guy were not like specifically leftist, they were specifically Black women and female presenting. Mm-hmm. So you see how there's that gap that we still have open where it's like the Black female presenting community never got an apology. We didn't get an apology for that. We didn't get apologies for being blocked. We didn't get apologies for our stuff getting deleted. There's a guy who took all my screenshots and made a whole article about it and said he did research. Took it all. And somebody called him out, and he first apologized to me for taking them, which I don't think he was sorry. He was following me before he took the screenshot, so he obviously took them from my post. He's like, I didn't know they were yours. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever, bro. He took the screenshots. He's like, I apologize. He didn't even say I apologize. He said, I took this, and I shouldn't have done that. Diane did a lot of research. That's it. Not really an apology. And then in the same apology, he said something bad about the person who called him out. Then he deleted that whole apology. I didn't even get to see the apology. He just deleted it. So now there's just a gap. I never got an apology. The other person did get an apology, but then we find out that the apology was fake. Now there's a gap. This person has done damage in our community. There's nothing there. So think constructively about the image that you have had online previously, and not how you can be, get people to get to your side, get to your thinking, but how can I do the work on the other side to actually do reparations for people that I've harmed? How can we actually have this thing in therapy camp called a group repair. One time I was super rude to somebody and I actually cared about them, and we had to get
Mhm.
our counselors involved with repairing the relationships. So repairs happen and they can be successful if you are open and willing to the fact that in that situation with that person, I definitely fucked up. I was like, I was so nasty to them. Yes, I was hurt. Yes, I was mad, but I was incredibly nasty, and that's not who I am as a person. I don't think that who you are as a person is somebody who wants to be snappy, somebody who wants to be. I, I don't think that any of that was what you intended to be characterized as. And I think that you can repair to get to not that. It will take work and it will take time. One of the things that you brought up to me is that you said you wanted to platform Black small businesses. I said, that's great, but also easy. That's
Mhm.
also easy. It's super easy to platform businesses when you have a platform. What is harder to do is to seek out an organization in your area that works with the Black community, grassroots mutual aid groups, and then asking them, hey, how can I help? And then not just helping, but also taking in what the struggles are. Again, I worked with the immigrant community in Hawaii, and I helped a lot of people who don't speak English navigate a lot of situations that were very complicated. And so I am very aware of how tricky the visa process is, how often you have to go to the visa office. So when I became a manager at the store I used to work at, if you were doing immigration paperwork, you got to print it for free. I said, you
Mhm.
will pay back with your taxes when you become a citizen. You don't need to pay for these 200 pages of copies that you had to print out because they need to figure out if your husband's actually your husband. Like,
Mhm.
take it. That's not the, that's the type of reparations that happens when you know what a community needs. There are a lot of trans people that want to take physical transitions. I have said things that were not good about people wanting to do physical trans. I've said a lot of confusing things about non-binary people. I'm like, I understand trans people, this non-binary stuff, what is that? And honestly, probably a little bit of projection but since then, I'm going to make sure that people understand that I knew what I was before y'all knew. And I always make sure to promote that idea. And then I also work with a lot of trans people, and I had a lot of trans kids since then. I've had a lot of trans kids who need a mom who I've helped get to where they need to get. That's what happens when you go into the community and you're like, you know what? I fucked up. Whatever you guys need, I'm here to learn. I am going to use my privilege in a way that, again, I know I learned insurance. Insurance is a very hard topic for any working class person to understand. During the freeze, every single person that I knew who made a certain amount of money had issue with their insurance. Every single one. So I went out and I said, you know what? I function very well in white spaces. I'm going to go get my insurance license. And I did that. And every single person who called in, I considered that me paying it forward, me paying it back to my community for the fact that I'm privileged and I sound not ethnic on the phone. When I'm working insurance, people don't even know I'm Black. So I'm paying it forward to all those people that I said, hey, I'm not like them. They're ghetto. They sound ghetto. They're so hood. All those people that I said something that was definitely harmful for any stereotype of them, even though it's in my community, I'm paying it forward by making sure every single day I explain insurance to people who don't understand it, which are typically Black and Hispanic people and working class people. Every single time I thought that we just need to do better. And that bootstrap mentality of like, we can just do better if we do better. Paying it forward by making sure I educate all of us because there's no way, unless you understand insurance, to understand insurance. Unless you have the ability to stop your life for a month and a half to get an insurance license, you're probably not going to get an insurance license and you're probably never going to understand that. People don't even have the opportunity to get an insurance license because they're working their other jobs. I had the privilege for a time to be on disability. So I was like, hey, I'm on disability and I'm going to get a job. So I might as well, they're paying me to get this education. Might as well do it. That's a privilege that other people don't have.
Mhm.
So those are lasting changes that I will continue to do myself and I can build upon once I learn what the issues are in the community. and how I affected them and how I was negative towards them. And I think this is not something that you would ever be able to answer in this specific moment. Obviously, I gave you some examples of possibly finding a Black grassroots or mutual aid group. And I don't know, kind of like that Christian belief of surrendering, like letting it go, like, hey, whatever this experience gives, I'm here. When I learned Korean, I said, you know what? I'm a baby in Korean now. I'm going to just give myself up to the process of learning Korean and not have expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go in thinking that these people are going to fix you or fix your belief. They're introducing you in their own way to something that you need to research further. And I would also say before you go on Google and say Google grassroots, sorry, I'm at my old work computer. Before you start Googling grassroots mutual aid people Austin, do some research a little bit more about why Black people benefit more from mutual aid and grassroots communities than we do from any kind of organization over there. I also do think, hey, promote Black businesses, but also understand the reasons why you have to promote Black businesses and understand the intricacies of how Black people have been blocked out of owning businesses and small businesses. Learn a little bit more about that, because then you'll be more passionate about the group that you're working with, and not just because I say it's a Christian charity box. So like Christians were like, yep, I gotta help the poor, I gotta feed the hungry. Thank you. Now I can go to heaven, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how a lot of people view allyship too. Like, oh, I did the Black and then the Hispanic and the others. Like, also, there's a lot of people who don't even know who the others are. There are so many communities that aren't even represented. Yeah, I'm from Hawaii. People don't care about Asian people very much, and if they do, they care about East Asian people, not Southeast Asian. And then Polynesia, and not that many people have heard about that many people. The NFL is full of Black people, white people, and Samoan and Tongan people. And people are like, well, that guy's got a funny name. That's as far as the thought process goes. So many people that do need a level of equity, and it takes all of us who have come from a place of privilege to do that.
Yeah, and that's definitely me to a T, because like I know there's the Black community, there's the gay people, there's like disabled people and immigrants.
Yeah. And I would say, hey, even in those groups that you described,
I mean, homeless, of course, but I just view them as like reflections of me.
they're in those communities. I can, because I work closely with a lot of them, because I'm like, hey, there have been times where I definitely talked about somebody's physical ability. I should look more into the difficulties people with physical disabilities have. I should look more into accommodations and accessibilities, because I know that I have a hard problem with mental issues. I can only imagine if I could not do X, Y, Z, and ABC every single day. They probably have so many more other issues that I just don't have, because I can walk into a building and go get help. There's sometimes not even not even a ramp. I went to go get surgery. There was a blind couple that was just walking around because they only had signs printed on a desk. So she couldn't even check in for surgery. So, and I was also like, why didn't your doctor tell people that you were, oh my God, like they're so frustrating. But within those communities, I'm like, you are just being introduced to a lot of like queer culture as well. And we talked about that last night. There's so much disparity in how different types of queer people are treated. I had a birthday party in 2024 when I turned 30. And it was just like a Vogue night, just like dancing. And people would come by my party and be like, where are the drag queens at? I'm sorry, I don't really have that. I don't really have any drag queens in here. I have queer people. We're just dancing. I mean, there's a couple of people who are drag queens, but like this isn't a drag queen show. But that's how people think of us in Texas. And so you're at the surface. I said a funny post last night, and I was like, white people get to the door of awakening, and then they turn. They see the awakening right there, and then they turn. They get like, oh, we're all one, and that's it. and I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to hold you accountable to this, that you have got to go further. If you ever want to see actual change anywhere with anything, and honestly, with what I feel like aligns with you as a person, you've got to go deeper. And obviously, you can't go deeper today. I don't expect your homework to be done by Friday, but I I am going to hold you accountable to change whether you're online or not. And if you're the person who I think you are trying to be, I do think that the reparations is something that you need to get into. I will the people that you wanted me to talk to, I will talk to them and be like, hey, they would like to talk to you.
Yeah, you can show them this whole entire. You can just send them, show them the whole entire thing. I don't care, whatever you like. But I do like the idea of having an accountability partner and being able to ask questions, because, like, if I do pick that organization, I would like to run it by you and get your opinion on it. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you're extending that, you're a nice person to be connected with, you know, and you come, I can see your heart. It's like pure, it's pure as fuck. Not to say that we don't all fuck up, and I know you understand that, but like, I do see you as you have like the purest intentions I've ever seen. And I would love to not only work on reparations, work on running those reparations by you, but also just accountability partner.
And I'm going to challenge you 100%. You can definitely use me to run people, like run organizations by you. But I think this would be an extension of you learning. Is for you to get in there, see what goes on, do your research, figure out where these different things go. Because if I know that a group is bad, chances are everybody else knows too.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that part, because I'm gonna do research on these groups, but I'm like, okay, I think this is a good one based off of my research. But before I go get involved with an organization that you guys might have better intel on, just because of previous experiences with these boards,
kind of like more like as a friend thing, like, hey, Diane, you ever heard of these people, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly like that. Like, hey, you heard of these people? Are they
totally? That's
is there any crazy past that they've done that I shouldn't be associated with, you know?
Yeah, totally. Sorry, there's like a cat. Oh, I got it. Okay, there's like a cat hair on my eye. But yeah, no, totally down for that. A lot of people ask me a lot of questions just because I do have the superpower of being able to look up every single business. But yeah, I'm totally down for that. We're I think about to hit that 7:30 mark. I think I did address all the things that I did want to address with you. This is going to involve a lot of reflection on your part. I do think that before you just black out, you should probably say something. Just because there is a lot of confusion about what is going on. And there are people who, number one, think that you're about to send them a cease and desist, that obviously you're not. And a lot of confusion. The messaging during that like 24 to 48 hour period, very confusing. And I think that there might be some things that you need to clear up. You can turn off the comments. That's the thing. If people get mad at you for turning off the comments, you can always say why you turned off the comments. There are so many times where I've seen people be like, hey, look, I'm turning off the comments because I want to say this, and I'm going to leave this up for X amount of time, and boom. Totally up to you. If you welcome comments, if you want to send it to people, if there's certain things that you want to hear, that type of thing, valid. I have so many comment sections where I'm like, hey, I'm only looking for these type of people to answer the question. I don't want to hear it. If you're like, hey, I want to censor Black women and Black female presenting creators on this thread, that's who I want to hear from, and that's it. Totally fine. I want to hear from groups that I may have harmed in the past. Totally fine. I do think that there are statements, and only you can write those statements. I can't give you the statements. You got to feel those out. But before you leave and take a break for your mental health, definitely should probably say something. I've definitely been the person who's like, oh, peacing out. And then when I come back, it gets even worse because I just left. And
I will before I do go in and say something, because I think that like conversations like these are very valuable, because it's so hard to gather what you think about a person. And formulate those opinions off of these like one-off events, i.e. Candlegate. I'm gonna like this conversations like this is great, and I would love for, if you happen to post this, I don't mind having people like using my platforms right now to refer to this video as one of those first initial, like, hey, this way you can see a conversation that's happened, allow them to see this conversation, and then go at a public post addressing everything outright. Because I know that if I go for that now, there's a lot that I don't know how to like. It's
Yeah,
almost like there's so much. Watching this is, I think, a lot. I think it's very helpful to people, and they'll understand my apology on a deeper level instead of just thinking that I'm only saying it to come back to content, or I'm only saying it to do this. They can't misconstrue a 2-hour conversation that we've been into heavy topics.
yeah. And I guess to close it off, do I have a commitment from you that whether you're on here or not, that you will continue to do the process of making reparations to groups that you've maybe publicly spoken out against or have unintentionally or intentionally harmed in like your past life, even this past week? Do I just have that commitment from you, like on wax, that whether you're here, online or not, that you're going to work towards doing that?
Yeah, and I'd like to keep in contact with you over those things.
Okay, 1000%. All right, well, I'm gonna go. We've actually been talking for like 3.5 hours
Oh,
because I knew that we were gonna. I was like, I'm a yapper, and also I have ADHD, and I was like, at some point, I'm gonna get lost in thought, and I'm probably gonna have to pick up my track of thought at some point. So I was like, I'm gonna give 3.5 hours. So
where do you plan? Because platform, do you have a YouTube?
I have a YouTube. She's not very big because I am one of those people who made like multiple YouTube channels throughout my life, and I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, and I'm gonna stop posting here. Oh, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna stop posting here. So I did make a new YouTube channel. I'm gonna post it there, but I am also gonna make like a on YouTube. I'm gonna post this full recording, like obviously with stuff cut out that, and then on TikTok and on Threads, I'm gonna post like kind of like the Cliff Notes version, and then refer people like, hey, look, if you want to see the full recording so you guys can come to your own conclusions about how you feel about this. This is what I got from the conversation, da 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 da. You guys can refer to this extended cut kind of thing.
Perfect, perfect. And I think like with the YouTube too, if you happen to send me the links when you post that, I will put those links in all my stuff everywhere so that when people, because like I want people to come to your video. You have been the one who's had an honest conversation with me. You're the one who did the work in seeking me out very like out of the gracious of your heart. You didn't need to do that, and you did that regardless. You're the one who did the work for this conversation to happen in the first place. And I want people to see that. I do want people to see that. And I also think that a lot of the people who are on my platforms that might be in the position I am, where we, we're teetering on this left of center, like who knows what's going on, still in our transition of moving left, that people like you need to be highlighted. If everyone was like you, educating people like me, holy shit, the change would be enormous. Your patience, the way that you understand what I'm trying to say without demonizing me, you're coming at it from 100% good faith. And I've never seen that before. And I think that should be highlighted.
Yeah. And I will say, just to put it also on record, that there may be people who are going to also give you an education. When you are going through your path of reparations, there are going to be people who are going to give you an education who are not going to be nice. And to understand the perspective that we get burned all the time. I am just somebody who is honestly foolish enough to keep going back in and keep putting my hand on the iron. And yes, sometimes I have good conversations. I don't think this was a bad conversation at all. Sometimes I have terrible conversations. I just actually, again, I have a very interesting family life, so I have the bandwidth to have good, bad, ugly conversations. I've also been in person, had people trying to fight me because of a conversation. So hey, like working in customer service and working in the working world, having conversations is key. So I just want to say that there throughout your journey to get to your true fulfillment, to get to your true self as an ally, as a whatever your political beliefs are, to get equity for everybody else, there are going to be people who are mad. There are going to be people who, as soon as you come in the space, they say, get the fuck out. That is from experience. There are groups that have been burned. There are groups, there are creators, there are people who have been so burned by so many people who look like you or act like you or sound like you. And if they come at you wrong, you have to understand where they're coming from. And that's going to be part of the research that you have to do, is understanding why they're mad in the first place, to understand why they're mad at you. If somebody comes at you yelling, you got to be, again, quick to listen, slow to react. You know what? They're not mad at me. They're mad because somebody like me has done something wrong, and I just need to prove to them that I'm not that. That's typically what my response is. You know what? They're yelling at me. I, as an individual person, don't deserve it, but whatever I represent in their life, that deserves it. I'm a representation of something that did something very harmful to them. People will say that about addicts. They'll be like, oh my God, you're an addict, stole all my stuff, and they'll think that we steal.
Yes.
Have I stolen anything? Have I ever been to jail for stealing? No.
Same.
But they don't know that. When I say recovery, people think of a certain thing, and I'm like, actually, I really went to mental health recovery. But hey, since you guys think recovery is one big thing, hey, now I represent that community, and I see all the disparities that we have, whether you've been to mental health or drug and addiction recovery. So, that being said, like, there will be people who are angry, rightfully so. We can't take it personal. We have to feel it. We have to understand our place in their life and move forward with the integrity that we're not going to be whatever harmed them, if that's what our intent is. And if we do harm, if we extenuate harmful circumstances, that we'll work to try and fix that. So let that be your last thought. Let that be your last thought, is I need to be quick to listen, slow to react. Somebody's yelling at me. Why are they yelling at me? What are they saying? And listen to it, and then be like, you know what? Okay. Whether if it's invalid though, if they're like being transphobic, like definitely like don't take that shit. Like some things you listen to and you can be quick to react. Like that is transphobia. No, that is you just hate people. You just hate people that don't fit into a binary. Can't deal with that. You hate people who didn't go to college. Can't deal with that. Some things are meant to be hated immediately, but for the most part, if they're an allied community of yours, quick to listen, slow to react. All right, I'm gonna let you go.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. This might take like a day for me to like get together, but
you take your time. Don't even apologize. Like, don't even.
Yeah.
You've done a lot being here in the first place, so.
But we'll talk. We'll talk. We'll be in contact. I may have a little bit of good faith in you that you're gonna do some positive things with your passion and your actions with everything. So don't disappoint me. I'll fight you.
Stop, you're gonna make me cry. I will cry over shit. What?
Don't disappoint me. I will fight you. I always just believe that people with good hearts get put in my path. So there we go. All right. Well, you have a good one. I'm gonna go. I hear my family doing something at the front door, so I want to know what it is. All right. Bye bye.
That was sweet.
Yeah, missed it. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.